Okay,
Start
I'll hit
recording?
start. Okay, I'm starting recording.
All right. No, I mean, you need something in the background. Do you not want to do like that ESPN thing where you have like a whiteboard and you write a different quote onto it, like, at the end
Yeah,
of
like
each day?
the pardon my take or around the horn style thing with the one guy
Yeah,
who
you don't
always
want
has
like a
the.
big whiteboard that you could write something on
What do you
and
got on?
like
What do you got on
put
there?
a different quote. What
I
do
can't.
I have on
I
here,
can't. I
Zach?
can't read that.
Uh, buy some storage solutions is number 2.
Okay.
Uh, I can't even read it. I wrote this stuff like months ago, and then it fell off
Did,
my wall, and it fell like behind my desk, so I haven't moved it since.
did you buy
But
storage solutions?
no.
What are you
To
trying to
this day, the
store?
answer's still a no. Well, that's because it fell down. If it had been on the wall, I would
Oh, I
have
see.
remembered to do it.
You
That's
need to
the
buy.
problem.
You need to buy some storage for your whiteboard.
I needed to buy more I needed to download more whiteboard storage, I think was the problem. So, welcome everybody to the inaugural episode of what I think Zach and I have decided to
there.
call the Back Select Cast,
Yeah.
which
And
is
we already did it.
we already did it. Already did it. We need like a button that like lights up when the other person's done talking. But yeah, I think this is pretty much just an excuse to build a platform to talk about all the things we don't have a reason to talk about in our videos. So,
Yeah, I was thinking, I was looking, I was going over some of our old videos and I was thinking to myself, like, all these video games that we've been playing are really just sort of getting in the way. I think about why I started a YouTube channel in the first place, and it was mostly to hear myself talk over the internet. So I feel like this is a perfectly natural evolution to that.
yeah, we figure we cut out the middleman. We'll vertically integrate our YouTube channel, and we'll get our thoughts out in the most distilled, pure form possible, a la Spotify and wherever else you can find podcasts. So,
And if you're watching on YouTube, this might be
yeah.
the first time that you're seeing our faces. That's not true. I feel like most people who are watching this either know us or, I don't want to discount the possibility that this is 10 years into the future and we have become wildly successful and popular, and you're coming back to see where it all began.
In which
or-
welcome.
Yeah, or if either of us have, tragically died in some sort of train accident, in which case I am smiling upon you from beyond the grave, and welcome to the podcast.
There you go. I hid the will somewhere in my house. Come find it.
It's in the background. Somewhere in there.
It's inside the whiteboard. But
no, I'm Zach, by
No.
the way. If you want to match a name to a face here, if you're watching the video version.
yeah, I'm Randy. That's a good point. This is what this was going to be our 50th video
It
upload.
is going to be our 50th video
Yeah,
upload.
our 50th video. So we figured, we'd do the face reveal. Originally, we're going to do it at 1 million subscribers, but that ended up taking a little bit longer
It's
than
been like 10 months.
expected. So yeah,
We've gestated
you gotta
this
make do.
Back Select baby, and we're ready to expel it out onto the world.
Yeah. So Zach, what are we thinking about here as terms of podcast format, podcast expectations? What are we looking to do?
I mean, this is a video game podcast. If you're listening to this and you don't know us, it's probably because you clicked on video game somewhere on Spotify or YouTube or something like that. So, what do we got here? We're going to talk about, what we've been playing. We're going to talk about some news, the standard stuff. I mean, let's be real here. We're not going to be able to compete with the style of every week podcasts with all the latest releases and all the latest news. We can't do that. We have day jobs.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah, not until we can quit our day jobs.
Yeah, the Patreon's
and
coming.
Full-time influencers. Yeah.
No,
God, man, I don't want to be beholden to any Patreon, but yeah.
Not yet, anyways. But once the cash starts flowing, then we'll change Randy's tune. But now we're gonna talk about just a little bit of what we've been playing, some of the news. Because we can't compete in that style of every week news and every week game releases. We're gonna do something a little bit more general. We're gonna talk about topic of the week. This week we are going with the concept of ammunition. We're gonna talk about ammunition in games, some games that do it well, some games that do it not well, some games that do it interestingly, and just sort of what that entails in a bit of a deeper dive. And then at the end we'll see if we'll do some questions or not. We'll see how long we ramble on for. It's already been
Mhm.
5 minutes or so as it stands.
That's
So
fine. We're setting the tone. We're letting people know the expectations. If they haven't clicked off by now, we've got them hooked.
there you
So
go.
buckle in,
We
everybody.
got we got those
Oh
click
yeah,
through. We got those click through numbers. It's all uphill from
yeah,
here.
absolutely. So Zach, how do you want to do what we've been up to lately? Do you want to take turns swapping off? You say one thing, I say one thing. You want to go through your week, my week?
Sure.
What's the plan here?
I don't know that I have much of a plan. I mean, how about those? I started today by waking up as I do with every other day, and
I was gonna say, how late did you guys end up staying up last night? Because we'll get into what we've been doing lately, and I have Counter Strike on this list, and I
yeah, we're up
dipped
to
out a
like
little bit
3
earlier
a.m.
than Zach did. 3 Oh man, I left
Yeah,
at
I
like
know.
1:30, I think.
But unlike on Sundays, most of the time when I wake up, it's very dark outside. I have a job that starts at 7 a.m. and so I wake up at like 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I see on here on your list, Randy, that you've bought a sunrise alarm clock. Did you end up
Yeah.
buying the Philips one?
So I was gonna segue into waking up is hard. Uh, Falling asleep, very hard. Waking up, hard. But the
Hmm.
sleeping, I've got that down. So it's more of I was looking, and Zach, I asked you the other day,
Uh-huh.
what's a good like sunrise alarm clock? For those of you that aren't aware, a sunrise alarm clock is kind of this clock that's meant to emulate a slowly increasing amount of light so that you wake up naturally as opposed to a loud alarm that can interrupt like REM sleep or something. It's supposed to make you feel better when you wake up. Now, how much of that is placebo? How much of that is science? I'll leave that up for, the scientists.
I've had one for like probably close to, I don't know if it's quite been a year now. But I have found that I wake up a lot better with it than I ever did without it. In fact,
Mhm.
on nights that I forget to set it and I wake up to in a pitch black room with my alarm clock blaring in my ear, it is much more startling than on nights where I don't have it. Uh, I don't know.
Yeah, so I went through on Saturday, and Zach, I asked you, and I'm like, Zach, you're in the know on these alarm clocks. What's the good one?
Yeah, right.
And I
I mean,
think you
something of an
said,
expert.
yeah, and I think you said the Philips one, but it's the most expensive, I think
It
is
is,
the
yes.
quote that you
Yeah,
said back to me.
it's like
And I
75,
looked at the
100 bucks.
Philips one. I was expecting like a $60. The one I saw was like 199.
Oh Jesus Christ,
Like,
that might be like
yeah,
the
it was a
max. Is that like
lot.
the ring one?
It was the Ring one.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah,
And
that's for. I don't understand
yeah,
it.
it's like the Philips wake up alarm sunrise clock or something, name dropping Philips all over the place, but
Sponsored by
eh,
Philips.
one day, one
Yeah,
day.
one
Maybe
day.
not after they hear this podcast segment. But yeah, and I'm like $199 is a lot of money for something that I don't even know will work for me. Like I don't know if I'll wake up by an increasing amount of light. So I was like, what's the next best step? Also, the 199 one, you can't replace the bulb if it dies. You have to
Wait,
go
what?
buy another $199 clock.
Oh, that's some bullshit.
It has like a 1-year warranty, which is like absolute trash, right? So I was like, okay, what if I just bought a regular Philips Hue light bulb and stuck it on a lamp that I already have? That's
Okay.
like
Yeah,
$40.
you can do that.
Yeah, so I did that. Yeah, so I got a Philips Hue bulb. I put it on a lamp next to my bed, and I download the Hue Play app,
Okay. Did you automate
which is
like 20
I
minutes
did.
of sunrise and sunset?
Yeah, so shout out to Philips. That app's actually really neat. They do a
Yeah.
lot. I don't know if you've messed with the Hue light
Not the Hue
stack,
stuff.
but
No,
yeah, but like
I'm
they
a
have a lot of
LifeX guy.
functionality in that app. Yeah, so like you created a room, so I created a bedroom. You added a light, so I added like
Hmm.
bedstand light. You can create a dynamic scene, so I set it from like 1% red to 100% white, and over a 30-minute period, it'll gradually move out to that. Uh, so I don't know. I didn't wake up to it this morning
Oh,
because it was like
is
11
this
a.m.
an over the weekend thing?
I did it Saturday.
Okay.
Today
Okay.
is Sunday, so I was gonna test it today so that when I wasn't late for work tomorrow was the plan.
Right.
Uh, but
Wait,
it was like,
are you ditching the sound alarm?
no, I'm still gonna set one
Okay.
as like a last resort. But I set this one to test it out. I was up until 1:30 a.m. So I was like, you know what? I'll set this to wake me up at 11. And I just naturally woke up at like 10:15, so it didn't come into effect. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna try it tomorrow and see how that goes. But
I know. I will say. I haven't tried the fall asleep function on those things, where it's like it starts off super bright and then gets dimmer. I
Oh,
haven't
why
really
would you
felt
want
the need for
that?
that. Apparently, it
Yeah,
helps
why
if
would
you have
you?
trouble falling asleep. It could help you fall
Mm,
asleep. But I don't normally have trouble falling asleep, and I have trouble staying
yeah,
awake. So,
yeah.
one other thing I will say about those sunrise alarms is that I don't know about you, but and you'll have to tell me what you think. But when I wake up to it and not my alarm, and I see that I have like 10 minutes left until my alarm was about to go off,
You go back to sleep.
no, I get super mad because I'm like, fuck, shit, I can't, I can't fall back asleep. It's gonna be for
But do
like
you
five
feel
minutes.
better about it? Do you
Like
feel better?
physically, if not
Yeah.
emotionally.
Oh, so like,
Like
yeah,
I'm
sleep.
not like waking up
Yeah,
like, like, right? Like I'm not doing that like I
yeah.
did in high school.
No, I get that. Dude, high
I'm a,
school, it was like you had 10 minutes from the time you woke up to
right,
the time you had to
yeah.
leave to get to the bus stop,
Oh, I still
right?
do
Like,
that. I live like 6 minutes away from my work, so I'm still like working on margins of like 1 or 2 minutes in the morning.
yeah. So I'm trying to give myself a little bit more time. But no,
Ugh.
that was a whole experience. Uh,
Oh. Well,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking at your list here. You have a lot of stuff here. You
I was
do.
gonna like
I noticed you've done a lot more things than I have
I'm
over the
probably not
past
gonna
like.
touch on all of these. Like all of these are not worth touching upon. Uh,
Ugh.
but
Well, pick your
yeah, like
favorite.
feel free to
What's going
interject with
on?
your stuff whenever. I watched a TV show,
Uh
a
huh.
bit of a TV show, not the whole TV show.
That's
TV shows are
unusual.
really long, you know? I saw like a funny tweet the other day that was like, "Hey, I got this 10-hour movie for you." And the guy says, "No, thanks." And it's like I broke it up into 12 parts and they're like, "I'm in."
Can't get
And
enough.
it's like that I'm in. And like it feels like that's how it is with TV shows. We're like, would this make a good movie? No. Does it make an okay enough TV show? Yeah, kinda, kinda. It's not too bad.
Is
I
it
was
a thing where
watching
it's like,
Vikings.
ooh, uh, the History Channel's Vikings, if I remember correctly?
History Channel's Vikings post Ice Road Truckers pre Ancient Aliens, I believe is the timeline.
Yeah. Uh,
Uh
Neighbor
yeah.
of Pawn Stars, huh?
Neighbor Pawn Stars adjacent TV show Vikings. Uh this long ship can fit so many Vikings in it, you know? And the
I
show's
have a guy
fine.
who knows Vikings. You know, I got to get him. It's gonna sit on the ocean for a while. It's gonna sit on the harbor.
Mhm, mhm. You know, it's just gonna sit here, it's gonna be docked. You know, we gotta pay a tax to the
I don't.
dock master every couple weeks.
You know, I don't know if I like the video podcast because it is revealing to people. I'm noticing that I do a self satisfied smirk every time I make a joke, regardless of whether or not it is funny to the general public. So they're gonna see me
Nah,
laughing at myself constantly, and I'm
laughs are like yawns, right? It's one of those things that's contagious. So they see you smirk and they're gonna smirk. It's
yeah.
a
Just focus on my webcam if you want to laugh,
focus
and
on
focus
Zen.
on Randy's webcam if you want to learn.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know about that. But yeah, Vikings is all right. I'm probably early season 3. Uh so, you know, they did the Viking thing. They showed up to England. They did some raiding. It's about what you expect. I did want to bring up just one facet of it, which I feel like Zach, how many like pseudo history slash fantasy drama shows have you watched? Like Game of Thrones or Vikings?
Zero.
Zero?
That's not
Zero?
my. That is not generally my genre.
Okay. Okay.
Historical
Well, I was just
fantasy.
curious because,
I've
like,
watched
I've
The
been
Witcher
noticing. Okay, yeah, the Witcher.
season one.
It's yeah, it's kind of a decent example. I didn't watch season 2 of The Witcher, so I don't
Neither did
know
I.
if it falls prey to the same problem that Vikings does. But yeah, these all these shows want to set up and establish themselves as quote unquote epic, right? That's what they're
Sure.
going
Yeah.
for. They want to be epic fantasy, Game of Thrones. They want to be like the saga of Vikings. So they want a big world and a big scope.
And none of
And
the
so
small. No, never mind.
yeah, so season 1 they'll establish the locations. You have England, which is on this side of the ocean, and you have like Norway, which is on that side of the ocean. And they go through great lengths in season 1 to establish Norway's really fucking far from England,
But I
right?
look on the world map and they're like right there.
Well, relative to the world map of them not even knowing England existed or not, it was pretty far. And they go to great lengths of saying, like, yo, this ship is really dangerous. Like 50% of us are gonna die en route. Like, it's bad. And then at the climax of season 1, right, they make it to England, they do their raid, and they come home. And then it makes sense. And then in season 2, they never once more show anyone on a boat. It's like, we did it. We unlocked the fast travel point to England. We can just go back and forth every
open up the
time we
map,
want
be like, I
to.
want to go there, and then they're like,
It's such a big deal. And then they do it once, and now they're experts and
yeah. I
nothing.
mean, you do it once, you can do it a million times. It's
And
like the
it's a
Prison Break
problem.
problem, where it's like, you know, spend the first season breaking out of prison, and then season 2 and 3 you're just in and out, just constantly, just back and forth.
I know.
They can install a
And it's
revolving door from Norway to England.
like, I don't know if it's a pacing issue or if they just start moving from what I would call you know how there's only 3 stories, like man
Sure,
versus
yeah.
world, man versus man. I don't know if they move from man versus world to establish the scope of it to just character drama, which is
Well,
what
it's
they
like,
seem to do.
I
It's
sorta get
traveling
it.
isn't a danger. Like,
Because you can't tell. Because
yes.
if you're gonna tell any other story besides that, right? It's like, are you gonna spend 6 episodes going back and forth? Because
Yeah, maybe. I think that would be cool.
I mean, that's fine, but
That's
that's
a
like,
big deal. You don't see
yeah,
how did Vikings waste a week on the open sea through the storms? Like, what kind of tricks did they do to bail water out of their ships? Did they lacquer the underside of some sort of repellent? Or I don't know. Maybe I'm just a nerd and I want that kind of stuff. But
well,
that's
I don't know.
interesting to me.
Well, once you see it once, like if you want to tell any other sort of story, it's like you sort of got to either glaze past. Okay, so the
I
question
think there's a middle ground. You're right.
sure.
Yeah.
So the question I have is that, do they act like it has taken 6 months every time they go
No.
back and forth? Okay, so it's
No.
not like
And that's the
it's not like we're
problem.
fast
There's no-
forwarding through it. It's that
Well,
it's just pretending it doesn't
technically
exist.
you are.
Sure.
I will say this. It is portrayed with no weight to it.
I see.
Characters aren't even saying Ragnar, are you sure you want to risk another raid in this winter where the seas are harder? They're just like, I'm going to England. And it's like,
be back in a bit.
it goes from, it's just internal contradictions where in season 1 they establish it as a super hard thing, and in season 2 and 3 and probably further on it just becomes nothing. And Game of Thrones had the same problem where 2 or 3 episodes of Game of Thrones are dedicated to Ned Stark going to the capital because it's a really fucking long walk. And then you get to season 8 and they're teleporting from out behind the wall to King's Landing to another continent. And it's just all of these shows. The Last Kingdom is another one that is another Viking show that falls to the same problem. People just don't care about distances and TV. I
It's true.
don't get it.
You know, I did watch The Witcher season 1 when it was new, and I can't tell you how long anything was supposed to take because I had absolutely no sense of the world at large at all. Which is I guess one way to sidestep that problem is if you just don't think about it.
We can get into Witcher a little bit later because there's a news story this week or this podcast on The Witcher.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, there are definitely continuity. Does not get portrayed well to the audience in Witcher season 1. Yeah. No, so I don't know. What about you, Zach? What have you been watching anything?
I mean, I've been watching Community for the 4th time since 2016.
Okay.
You know, I watched it. It's a good show.
it.
I recommend it. I mean, I don't have much to say on it. I mean, at least it's not that much that's relevant in the year 2022. Except I hope they make a movie. You know, I keep hearing news stories every now and again. No, not really.
No. Oh, okay.
No. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've been watching that. I've been playing a lot of Super Mega Baseball because that came on Game Pass a week ago. Oh, excuse me. I didn't realize what that game was before it came to Game Pass because I've noticed about myself that I really like the idea of sports games a lot more than I end up liking the sports games themselves. Because it started with, funnily enough, Retro Bowl, right? The mobile side, well, now Switch game, the mobile football game that was sort of built after what was it called on the NES? Tecmo Bowl. That's what it was. Tecmo Bowl.
Oh, sure.
No, you've seen Retro Bowl a little bit. That was it's.
Yeah, I played Retro Bowl. I didn't know Tecmo Bowl was a thing that existed.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was building off of that.
Yeah, it's an NES game. It's sort of built in the same style. And obviously, Retro Bowl has made modernizations and But the interesting thing about that was that they have sort of like a franchise mode mini light diet version, right? Where it's you go through like a franchise mode in Madden, right? Where you're building your team, you're getting players together, you're making roster decisions and managing injuries and things like that. And that has always appealed to me on an intellectual level until I go into, like, for example, a Madden, and I realize that I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I just I play fantasy football, right? And I'm like, wide receivers, I know those guys. Running backs, yeah. And then, it gets time to, like, your offensive line is like at a D minus, and I'm like, oh shit, really? I don't know what I don't know. I don't quite know what to do about that. But
So
hmm,
it's one of those armchair manager
yeah.
to being like the real manager day one on the job, and you're like, I have no clue what I'm doing, sort of
Yeah,
thing.
well, yeah, well, it's even further than that. It's the imaginary GM to the armchair GM, where I realize I don't even
Mm.
know what I'm doing in the armchair role. I can't even
Well,
just pretend to know what I'm doing.
well, here's the question, Zach, because I've seen you play. You streamed a little bit of you playing Super Mega
Hmm.
Baseball, and my question for you is, how much of that GMing is in that game? Because it's not like an out of the park baseball. It's not like a
No,
football
no, and it's
manager,
not even
right?
like it's not even like to the level of MLB The Show, right? I mean, maybe it
Yeah.
is. I don't know. I haven't played the show that much, but it's sort of that, like, that game appeals to me because it's sort of in that middle ground space where it's not quite like retro bowl style, where it's almost like a mini game, right?
Hmm.
Um, but it's also it's digestible, I would say, in a way that appeals to me as someone who doesn't follow baseball. Like, I enjoy the sport. I like watching a baseball game. I don't like watching 100 of them a year, but
162 games a year, not a
yeah,
fan.
right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I like, I'm a fair weather baseball fan, and that game appeals to that sort of middle ground where I can sort of, I know a little bit of what I'm doing, but and it makes it digestible in a way that I can feel good about what I'm doing, but not necessarily get overwhelmed. And again, I haven't played the show, but the actual, like, part where you play baseball seems relatively robust, or at least to my knowledge. It has a lot of the same trappings as, like, a lot of the MLB games, where you're pitching the baseball, and you get the strike zone, and it looks very familiar. You have your different pitches, and stamina meters, and to the point where I feel like I could probably jump into an MLB, at least the gameplay portion of it, and not just get my
Mhm.
shit rocked. Um, but yeah, it's fun, and the other thing I will say about it is that that game has 32 games in a season, and the thing I always struggle with franchise modes in sports games, and I don't know how much you've played of Madden or MLB or anything of a
Played them a lot
franchise.
more when I was younger, but I haven't played anything
Were you a
past like
franchise player?
2K9. Yeah, when I was
Were-
younger. Yeah.
yeah,
I had more time.
yeah, like that stuff. Like, when I was younger, I knew
Mhm.
nothing. I failed
Yeah.
even when I tried. But I don't. I have a hard time finding the balance between playing 32 games myself and like having each season take like a million years, and then, like, making, like, team decisions, like, oh,
Mhm.
every 10 hours I'll worry about my team, right? Where versus, like, or you start simming all your games, right? You start simulating all
Mhm.
of them, and you only worry about the team, and then it's like, well, 15 years flew by and it's 2 hours, and now I have no attachment to this team, and it's like, so
Well,
I don't know where that balance is, and that's why I always tend to fall off on franchise modes like that.
yeah, I think for stuff like Madden, I always did like I'd play most of the first season, right?
Mhm.
And I would usually try to like lock in playoffs early. And if I didn't make it to playoffs, I would just make a new franchise.
Jeez.
But I'd probably get like 10 games in. It's like, okay, you're going to playoffs. Sim the rest of the season. Who cares? And then play the playoff games. But once you're on like season 2 or 3, like maybe it's my attention span, but yeah, I would get a little bored. So like I'd sim all games but the rival game or like
Mm.
the conference game or something like that.
What is your tolerance for losing in a sports game? Because I have this thought about a lot of the games I play, like,
Yeah.
where it's like, is it fun to steamroll every single game and just win 15 championships in a row with perfect seasons? Because it's like, I play Retro Bowl, and that's sort of how it's been going for the last 40 seasons, and I still enjoy it, but that's more of a time waster thing. It's not really like a challenge sort of deal.
I'd say it probably depends on the game you're playing. If I'm playing a game like a Madden or like The Show, where the reason to play the game is ostensibly the gameplay,
Hmm.
then winning, I wouldn't want every game to be a stomp because that detracts from the importance of what I'm doing in the game,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah.
I want to have tension when I'm going for a desperate Hail Mary throw, right? Or if my best batter comes up 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, we're down by one, I want to crank out a home run or something. So like I guess my tolerance for losing is high because I think by losing it adds importance to your future games.
Right.
Uh, Now, if I was playing a game like Football Manager, where like the the point of the game isn't gameplay, it's about managing and
Right.
creating a system, then stomping 16 seasons in a row would be satisfying because you're building a organization, you're building a system. So it depends on what the game's trying to do, I guess.
That's the thing, and that sort of goes along with what I was saying earlier about that sort of balance between like the management and the playing the game is like even time aside, it's like how much influence do you want to have via your roster versus via your player inputs, like with the controller, right? Because
Mhm.
it's like because if your game uh is only determined by the strength of your roster, then like what are you even doing on the field, right? Like what do you even like why even play the game? But if you can just win every game regardless of what your team is, then what's the point of building a team? And it's like how do you get the difficulty to the point where it's like I want to be able to have fun playing the game and have that matter, but also have it matter like when I lose a game, let's say of baseball, it hasn't happened yet. I'm very good at the game. But if I lose a game of baseball, how much of it should be my fault versus how much of it should be, oh, well, I need to build a better roster because my team isn't that good. And like,
Well, it's always your closer's fault, first
yes,
off,
right.
in
Mhm.
baseball.
Yep.
So just always that's who you point to. But I don't know, you've been playing mainly franchise modes and not like the follow your career, like
Yeah.
story modes.
I
Because
mean,
in the story modes is probably what most people play in stuff like the show, right? You're up to bat when your guy is up to bat. So like that's all everything else is simmed, right? If you're not in, it's being simmed. But when you're up to bat, it's you. When you're fielding, then you're gonna try and catch a fly ball or something.
I mean, that's interesting. I think I don't know if it appeals to me personally. I think I prefer a more holistic view of the game.
Mm.
Uh, so I don't know. It's like and going back to Super Mega Baseball, I was like, 32 games seems like a lot, right? And but I feel like once I hit the sim button, you can't go back. It's like swallowing the blue pill. Like once you start, you can't stop. And it's like, do I want to do that? Not really. But I'm also kind of just fine just playing baseball casually. Like I don't necessarily feel, at least right now, I don't feel the need to. I'm not being like, oh God, I got to get through the season so that I can start. So the draft is coming up. I like I'm fine with just playing it.
Yeah.
It's like I play PGA Tour, the newest one. I think it was 2K21. I think is what it is. Should know the title. I play it often enough, but that's sort of the same thing where it's like, yeah, the tour lasts like 50 tournaments of 4 rounds
That's
each,
a
and I'm like,
lot of golf.
it's a
That's
lot
a
of golf.
lot of
But
golf.
like the thing about golf, right, is that you're not building a team, so it's just like, oh, whatever, I'll
Mhm.
play golf. Like it's
Yeah.
fun just to do it. I don't know.
Does that game offer a sim? Like, let's say you come across a course that you're like, man, I hate the Masters at Everness or something. I want to skip it. Like, is that an option? Like, it's
Uh,
got a wicked dogleg on hole three, and I'm
I
not
don't
feeling it today. Like,
I don't think so. I'm gonna be
yeah,
honest. I never even tried,
you
but
got to play all 50. I would not be able to make it through 50 games of golf. That's a lot.
well, I mean, like, so there's enough progression in that game, anyways, where it's like you're not really
I'm sure you're
going
getting
towards an end
sponsors and
goal.
stuff.
Like, it's not like
Yeah.
the yeah. So I don't know.
It's not to
Sports
get the
games.
golden jacket. That's not the end goal. Yeah.
I don't even know if it had. I think it has the Masters
Mhm.
branding in it.
Probably.
It's
Yeah.
not fully
That's the
branded in
big
the way
one.
that like Tiger Woods used to be, but
Okay. Wait, PGA Tour's less branded than Tiger Woods? Tiger Woods got more people on board than PGA did?
I think it's like they don't have access to all of the courses that maybe they used to.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but there's a custom course, so people just build it. Like you want to go
Mhm.
play the ones local around here, you can do that. People have made them.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Make a local
yeah,
course. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
So
neat.
I don't know, sports games. I feel like I'm making myself seem like one of those sports bro people
Mhm.
who play FIFA
Yeah.
every year on their X.
Yeah, Zach brought his 360 to college and was just running up and down the dorm hallway asking people to join on his
Couldn't
FIFA matches.
stop me
I
from playing.
remember that. Couldn't
I'm
stop the guy.
I'm a footy maniac. You can't stop me. It's just FIFA left and right.
Fucking footy. Goddamn. Yeah, no, we're not quite as much in the sport game sphere, but do enjoy them every now and again. Absolutely.
Yeah. What have you
But
been playing, Rando?
I've been playing a good bit of a game called Chivalry 2.
Yeah, I've seen some of
Um,
that.
yeah, for those of you who are familiar with the Xbox Arcade indie game darling Chivalry Medieval Warfare, well, this is the Epic exclusive store sequel. And it's actually really good. I'll go out and say that right now. I've always played a lot of those, I don't know what, like medieval brawling games. Like, what would you even
Medieval
medieval
bro.
arena combat?
Yeah,
Like,
Mordhau. What was the one before?
yeah.
War of the
Oh, I
Roses.
can list a lot. Yeah, so you had Mountain Blade, which was the first, quote unquote. You had
OG.
Mountain Blade Warband, which was the popular one. Then they came out with like Fire and Sword, and they came out with a Napoleonic like line musket one. That spawned Chivalry Medieval Warfare, which led into the game called War of the Roses, which led into Mordhau, which leads into Chivalry. Well, the Chivalry 2 guys tried to make a magic based one called like Spell Break, which like
Oh, I
rocks
remember that.
super hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's like Spellbreak no, it was like Mirage Wizard Combat. I think it was called
Sure.
Mirage. Spellbreak is a different battle royale style one, but basically it's the genre of it's you and 32 other people versus 32 other people, and you're just swinging big hammers at people and throwing chickens and shooting catapults, and ostensibly in the background there's an objective you should be doing. Uh, and I've always enjoyed playing these games. In high school, I went real hard on the old GK server on Mountain Blade Warband. It was like
GK
there were
server.
like there were like 3 populated server. Mountain Blade Warband at this point was like 10 years old. So like
Sure.
there were still 3 populated multiplayer servers, and the only one in my time zone was the GK. It was the GK clan server.
Were you a part of the
So
GK clan?
I was not, no, but I
Oh,
did download their third-party mod to unlock their server-specific multiplayer stuff, which was really cool. They added new weapons, they added like catapults and stuff. Like they were doing real scripting work for their multiplayer scene. It was really neat.
got to get
Like
that
they were
message
doing
of the
like
day
balance
in.
changes. Yeah, it was really cool. And so like you would play Warband and like you would see the same people every night, right? I'd come home from tennis practice, I'd pop on Warband, and you see like GK, like Luna was a big player, and like they're always at the top of the scoreboard.
Shout out to GK
Uh,
Luna.
GK Luna, if you're out there, you kicked my ass plenty of times. Good job. But yeah, I've been playing Chivalry 2, which is fulfilling a similar role for me. I'm coming back from work, or I'm like at the office late, and I come back and it's like, man, fuck it. I just want to play some Chivalry. I want to swing a big sword. I want to shoot a dude in the face with a crossbow. I want to kick a guy into a spike trap. And it's that kind of stuff that I think the game really excels at. So with this week, Zach, I got first place in the lobby
I
in
saw
a
that.
team objective match, which
Congratulations.
so it's a 64 player server, and I have gotten best on the team a lot, right? But first in the lobby is kind of impressive because like I'm level 26 in the game,
You know,
and
not to toot
playing
your own
against
horn or
people
anything.
I know I'm tooting my own horn, and like there's people that are like level 480 that are topping the scoreboard, and it's like, well, okay, this guy's just no lifing Chivalry. Like, of course he's gonna be better than me. But I finally got it. I was pretty pumped about that. Not so pumped that I had to resort to third person to do it. And
Oh
I
no,
wanna,
not one
I
of those
wanna, I
dirty
wanna,
third person.
I wanna get your thoughts on this, Zach.
Okay.
Chivalry 2 offers 2 camera options.
Mm-hmm.
You get first person, which is showing the weapon in your hand, and third person, which is like behind the shoulder. You get your full body, and you can do attacks and stuff. Uh, and I wish that they either had chosen one or the other and not provided the option.
Mm.
Uh, because third person is so much more objectively capable
Is it
than
the
the first
Battlefront
person
problem
camera.
where it's like you could
Well,
play first
what's the
person, but
Battlefront?
like the Star Wars Battlefront problem where you could play in first person, but like
Mhm.
if you do, you're severely handicapping yourself.
Even worse, to an even stronger degree in this game, because like not only when you're in a brawl, like can you see people behind you that are getting ready to swing at you or to the side. You get a better view of what all's going around you. You can see if an archer over there starts aiming at you. You can, but the big one is with how the game's attacks works. And this is how all of these medieval combat games work, is it's based off of a swing, and it's called dragging is the technique. It's like bunny hopping and Counter-Strike. The technique to know in these games is called dragging.
Got to get that
So
sword tech.
yeah, so like imagine that you're swinging a sword and the path the sword takes is the active hitbox, right? So if anyone is within the path of the sword, they'll take damage. So what dragging is I'm going to start my swing animation and swipe my mouse to the left to increase the path that the sword travels so I can hit more people. And in first person, that's relevant or relegated to your field of view, right?
Right.
It's in front of you. In third person, you can drag wherever you want. You can, and this was a big problem with Mordhau. Mordhau had this problem where they tried to relegate how far you could drag an attack. It's like, okay, we're going to implement like a 220-degree hard cap,
sure, yeah.
where like mouse acceleration kicks in drastically once you reach the cap, and it's harder to turn the further you go. Is the idea. But Mordhau's implementation sucked. So you go and you play high level Mordhau. It didn't stop people from doing it.
Did they just increase their sensitivities to like 1,000,000?
Exactly. So you'd watch like high level Mordhau, or you come across this guy who does a crouch spin 360 stab, and it hits everyone, and he insta kills everyone by spinning with an axe in a circle. Chivalry's 2 implementation is better. It stops the crazy swinging more, but it's still doable. So I did have to resort to third person drag swing abuse.
Is that if I were fighting in medieval England and some guy comes charging at me doing multiple 360s in a whirlwind attack with an axe, I probably wouldn't survive that.
Just shoot him in the head. It's easy. But yeah, so I feel a little bad embracing the third person, but like if you want to do well in those games, like Chivalry 2, you should play it. First person's so much cooler, right? Because you're in the action and it feels like as chaotic as it should be, but like you're so much more in control.
That's the thing. Like even in Battlefront, even in Battlefront, like if you play first person, at least there's something to that. Because like if you have a gun, there's something that makes sense about being in a first person as opposed to a third person. You know, you get that tighter field of view, the better like aiming down the sights and things like that. That you might not get in third person. So it's like even if it's not as good, at least there's something to it where you're not just straight up handicapping yourself. It seems like Chivalry, and by extension a lot of those other games, are just straight up there's no point.
I would say you are like 75% more effective in third person. Like it is massive. Damn. Like now to Chivalry's credit, you have a hot swap feature. You don't have to go into your video settings and change first or third person. Right. You can just hit the P key and you'll change. So like if you switch to a bow, just go first person.
P for perspective.
P for perspective. Yeah. So yeah, it's because it's not only the drag swinging, but also how you parry. You can drag parry. So like you're surrounded by 6 guys. We'll just hold right mouse block and spin in a circle real quick and you won't get hit. So it's something that these devs need to figure out.
Just imagining some knight with like their giant like rectangle tower shield, like Dark Souls style, and you're just like you're just going around this circle. We can't hit him. It's impossible.
Yeah.
What are we supposed to do about this?
Because then you'll see the people that crouch and do it, so they're hitting people's knees because the block is at their like chest height. But yeah, and it like Chivalry is wacky, right? Mordhau was less wacky. Mordhau tried to be like the
more racist than anything else.
Dude, Mordhau's chat was so racist. It was I've played a lot of League. I've played a lot of Dota. I've played a lot of the games which are supposedly the most toxic game communities. Mordhau
blows them out of the water.
It was so bad. Like just people throwing the N-word all over the place, blatant racism. I don't know what it is about these style of games that brings out like hardcore pro crusade white supremacists, but it does. Chivalry 2, this might be a plus. The text chat's actually like not active. Like people don't really type in Chivalry 2, which is a plus. Or
They're
when
too
they do, it's
busy.
something funny.
They're too busy circle strafing around with a
Exactly.
claymore sword to worry about
The
typing in
AP,
chat.
the APM's too high. They can't. They don't have the time to chat.
If you have time to chat, you have time to. Anyways,
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah. Chivalry 2 is great. It's kind of sucks that it's relegated to a 1 year exclusive on Epic because I think when it hits Steam, this game's become a lot more popular.
how far
Like I
along
do
are
think
we into that year?
it's close. It's like 9 months, I
Mhm.
think. Like it's pretty close. Like they've been putting out updates. They have a roadmap. They want to add mounted combat soon.
The
Which
back
will
select cast
really
is
mess
very
things up.
timely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got this on launch and I've been playing it,
Yeah.
but I started
Super
playing it
Mega
a lot more
Baseball.
recently.
It's like 3 years out at this point.
Is it?
So
It's new
yeah.
to Game Pass, so it might as well.
So
Like
it's relevant.
Hades,
Yep.
when it came, no one was talking about Hades until it came out on Steam, and that was like Game of the Year material. But it was on Epic for like a year and a half beforehand. No one cares. So I think there's a series for us there, Zach. Just playing Epic Game Store exclusives that no one's heard about, even though they're really good, because there are good games on there. But yeah, Chivalry 2 is fun. Losing doesn't hurt in Chivalry 2. Because when you die, it's because someone with a hammer from off screen came and
Oh,
like
yeah.
Porky Pig blasted your head off, or someone threw a flaming chicken at you, or you got hit by a catapult and you flew 100 feet, or a ballista launched you 4 miles into the stratosphere. Like, losing in Chivalry 2 is much more fun than, let's say, losing in Counter Strike,
Mhm.
which we can get into is something we played a little bit lately.
For the first time in like 6 months, for me anyways.
Mhm.
Didn't do as bad
Yeah,
as I thought
so
I was going to.
no, you were topping those boards. You were doing pretty good. I was impressed. At least
Well,
one game you topped the board.
thank
You,
you.
you gave a
I
little
wasn't
smirk, like I didn't do
I,
it, but
I wasn't fishing for that, but I appreciate it.
yeah. So no, Chivalry 2, you lose a round, guess what? Next map, who cares? You die, you spawn with the same exact stuff. Counter Strike, you lose.
You got to
Hit
sit
like
there. You got to
here's like
stew
a
in it.
stick. Here's a stick and a piece of gum next round. Do your best to win it. And it's the death spiral in Counter Strike is so harsh.
Hey
Like,
man, when it happens in Counter Strike, everyone's complaining up a storm, but when it happens in Dark Souls 2, everyone's like, "This is the best game design ever."
oh, what's that?
Oh, you died? Here's 10% off your max health. Good luck next time,
Oh,
jackass.
it had a cap. It had a cap. But they rolled back that mechanic. Like the new games don't do. I think they realized that was pretty shit. And like there was a ring in the game that capped it at 75% max HP, and like you just perma had that ring on.
Oh yeah,
So
like
like
Cling Ring syndrome.
yeah, cling ring. So it's like, what's the point of even having that mechanic? And turns out there wasn't one. Uh, Not sure what all that was about with Dark Souls 2, but that's a lot of Dark Souls 2. Still a good game, but it's got problems.
Well, you know, we've been playing Apex Legends for a lot
Mhm.
over the past like year at this point. Holy
Maybe
shit.
more. It's been a while. We've
Yeah.
been playing a lot of Apex. It's been our
Yeah.
kind of like our group's go-to staple for a while.
Yeah, and it's like and just comparing that game especially cuz that game changes a lot, right? You know, live service registered trademark. But
Mm. Game as a service, yeah.
yeah, compared to
Gas.
something like Jesus. Compared to something like Counter-Strike which has stayed relatively static. I mean, not, you know, completely, but it's not quite a lot. I wouldn't classify Counter-Strike as a live service game
No,
in the
it's
way
not.
that Apex
They do
is.
seasons, but that's just like cosmetic wave. It's not like a
Yeah.
like we'll change out the map rotation, but yeah,
Like that's
they're
the
not
thing.
adding in like a new RPG gun to Counter Strike every season, right? Like,
Because like we played when it came Apex, I should say, when it came out a little bit on launch, and
mhm.
for like I don't know about you, I played it for about 40 hours. I think you probably played more than me. For
I
like
played a
40
lot more.
hours, yeah, and it was fun. I had a good time, and then I sort of shelved it, and then
Mhm.
we went back to it like 2 years later, and it felt like it was a completely different game. I was lost.
Yes. Yes.
You know, new guns, new maps, new different types of ammo, balance changes, of like half the like double the roster of characters you play as. Whereas I downloaded Counter Strike for the first time in like 6 or 7 months, and it was like, oh yeah, this is Counter Strike. Like the like
It's Counter Strike.
I know how to do this. I buy the AK and I click on someone's head. Like it was like
You don't pick the new operator. You don't have to check out what the new gun is. It's Dust 2, baby. You know Dust 2.
We didn't
Uh,
play, which is funny because we didn't even play on Dust 2 last night. But
we didn't. We played, Inferno and Mirage have been around for
yeah,
ages, so
I
yeah.
like
So
Overpass. That's my favorite. But
Overpass is good. I like Train, man. People hate Train, but Train's cool.
I like Train.
I like Train.
I have been banging this drum for literal years at this point. Where I'm like, put Train on the goddamn map rotation, and people just won't do it.
Train and Nuke are good.
And
Agency
Vertigo.
sucks. Get Agent. Mm. You can hold
New,
that ticket sign up by yourself on that one. I'm not.
New Vertigo is great. I say New Vertigo.
not
It's probably
on.
been like 3 years or something since they redid it. But
Yeah, Neo Vertigo. It's just neon everywhere.
more like
Yeah.
Vertigo back to Dust 2. Am I right?
They even changed us too. You can't snipe doors from T-spawn. They added a
Wait, what?
block there.
Oh shit,
Yeah,
that's
you
great.
play Dust 2 now. Like, you know how like it was called Suicide, where you jump off the ledge and you
Mhm.
run right towards the gates? There's a building there.
Oh, you don't.
Like
You
you
so you don't
can't
gotta waste a
shoot. You
smoke
can't
grenade
count.
every round.
The only way to count how many people are going to be is if you jump down into the place called Suicide, which is typically not a good idea. So yeah,
Oh,
so no,
that's
Counter
great. I
Strike
love
changes
that.
all the time. Yeah. So
I don't
no, I
know.
mean Apex continues to be fun. If I had to ask you what kind of state do you think it's in? Because we've played, like you said, a bit in season 1, and then I feel like late season 7 through season 8,
Yeah.
like 10, 11, 12, we've played a lot. So like, would you say it's in a good state? Where would you be at with Apex?
I mean, it's fine. I probably still would. I think season 10 or 9, 10. I'm kind of getting
Is
confused
that
as
the
to which is which
Olympus
at this point.
season?
No, that was 8. That was way back.
Oh, okay. What was
No,
10?
10 was there wasn't a whole lot there. They introduced the legend Seer, and they had all three
Oh no.
at the time. They
No,
had
you're
all
gonna say
three.
that one was good?
I don't know. I liked
Seer
it.
was broken as hell on
Oh,
launch.
well, sure,
That
for
was
like 2
a
weeks,
clusterfuck.
for like 2 weeks out of a 3-month
It
season, but it was
felt a
like,
lot longer.
but I liked it because they had all the maps in the rotation at the time. Like
Mm.
it wasn't exciting, but it felt good after, that whole shit show at the beginning. But whereas like I felt like they didn't really need to change stuff, but they sort of, you sort of have to, right? And it's like,
Mhm.
I don't know. Like it's at the point, and I mean, like, and I guess if you haven't played Apex Legends, none of this is making any sense to you. But like the fact that nobody uses energy weapons anymore, and there's not really a whole point to it, kind of
I don't know, man. The
sucks.
devotion gets used a lot.
I mean, I love the devotion, right? That's the energy light machine gun, but
And the Volt would, but it's in the care package.
I mean, that's the whole thing, right? They
Yeah.
brought down the triple take back down to reasonable levels, and if like to use the energy weapon assault rifle, which uses energy ammunition, we'll touch on that later.
Mhm.
In order to use it, you need to find a specific item. I mean, you can do it without, but it's not. But if you don't find that thing, it's like you can use the weapon, but you're not gonna outclass someone. All other things being equal, you're not gonna outclass someone who's using one of the any other assault rifles, right? So
Mm.
it's like, I don't know. It's fine
I
though.
Yeah, I think of energy weapons in Apex as like collecting the pieces of Exodia, where like first you get the gun, then you get the barrel stabilizer, then you get the turbocharger, then you get the mag, and then you have a good gun.
Then you get the
Um,
khakis. Then you get the chicks.
yeah, pretty much, pretty much. Uh, they love winners, uh, and yeah, care package weapons are. Here's my hot take, Zach. Here's
Okay,
here's my here's my hot take on improving Apex Legends.
lay it on me.
Every care package comes in waves.
Uh-huh.
So like you have the round 1 circle close, wave of care package, round 2 circle close, wave of care package.
Okay.
Everyone gets a weapon, gets
Sure.
a care package weapon in all of them. And depending on the wave dictates which weapon is in it. Wave 1 will always get the tier 1 care package. Round 2 gets the tier 2 care package weapon. Final round gets Kraber. That's my hot ticket. Reduce some of the RNG, make it feel like care packages are worth fighting over more because you know you're going to get something. And remove all normal weapons from the care package. Just make like the
Make
Kraber
them
is unique to
exclusive.
care packages. Make them
Mm-hmm.
exclusive. Because otherwise it's like, no, I love the Volt. Don't take it. Don't take the Volt. I want the Scout. Give me the Scout back. It's like, no,
I thought it
too
was
bad.
neat because like
Just make a new one.
I guess, but like it's sort of cool seeing like, for example, the submachine gun they put in 2 seasons ago, the alternator, where it was like, oh wow, this weapon that was fine. It's it has its place. It's not not super great, and then all of a sudden like to see that weapon and then it go, oh now this thing fucking shreds.
Oh yeah, because
like
they
that's cool.
supercharge it, right?
Yeah.
They buff him whenever they put him into the care package.
And
Or in the case of the
that's cool.
Spitfire, they just leave it the same. Because that weapon was busted.
They're like, well, why balance it? We'll just give it to 2 players a game. But
who needs balancing?
No, but
yeah,
it's cool to see that, I think.
Yeah, I get it. I just want a little less RNG, but that's what makes it a live service game, right? Is changes. And maybe that's just me not super vibing with what live service games are these days. But yeah. So I mean Apex is in a good spot. It's a good game. It's a good game.
It is a good game. I've been playing it for a long time. It's probably my 3rd most played game ever at this point.
Ooh.
Behind
TF2?
Yeah, behind TF2 and Counter-Strike.
Counter-Strike and then Apex? Okay.
Probably.
Good list. That's a good list.
But I'll leave it up to you. We're about 50 minutes in. I don't know how much of this stuff you want to go through.
I was about to pass it over to you. Is there anything else you've been up to recently that you want to talk about, or we can start diving into some news stories?
We want to get into some news. I haven't played much besides just Counter-Strike and baseball and whatever we've been playing on the channel.
Mm-hmm.
Which you should check out.
Yeah, that goes without saying. Yeah, I don't know if we've name dropped it yet. We're awful YouTubers.
What are you talking about? We're great YouTubers.
Here, do the plug. Do the plug.
Yeah, okay. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel at Backselect on YouTube. We don't have a custom URL yet, but just search us up. We're there. You might be watching this very podcast on the YouTube, in which case, maybe consider hitting that button. It's right down there.
Oh, yeah. Hit that like button.
Yeah.
Help the channel grow.
I'll do it on the podcast. Yeah. If you're listening on Spotify, follow us there. Or, if you're listening to us on some sort of website, subscribe to our RSS feed, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
If you're
make one.
If you're one of those people, subscribe to our RSS people. Wherever podcasts are sold. But no.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. What did you say? I see you have a couple of news stories here. Why don't you head us into what you got?
Yeah, I think with the idea of this is that we're just going to be covering some of the either stuff that pertains more to our interest or like the stuff that's kind of like too big to ignore in the general games industry kind of thing. So like we're going to cherry pick from this list here, Zach, what's interesting, what's not. But yeah, we're just going to go over some recent news stories real quick. So first up,
what do we got?
CD Projekt Red teasing a new Witcher game.
Oh shit.
And the confirmation of Netflix season 3. I think we both talked about us not watching season 2.
Wait, did that happen?
Maybe that's not.
That completely slipped
season
past me.
Season 2's out.
Oh no! Like season 2 I've
ago.
heard was like, but divisive. I'll say. I'll probably still watch it at some point, but like, I like the first season enough.
It made some changes from the books I wasn't too hot about, but we'll see how season 2 goes. But but the big thing with the game is they didn't show much.
Right, it was like a logo, right?
It was a logo. It was a Lynx medallion, which, as far as I know, having read the books and played the games, there's no Lynx school of Witchers. There's the wolf, which is what Geralt's from. There's the one that Leto guy's from, which is like the snake. There's the viper. I think there's like an owl school, and there's a cat one, and there's a bear one. But I don't remember, like, maybe the Lynx is the cat one, maybe. I don't know. But, and the only other piece of news they said is it's coming out on Unreal Engine 5, which I find really interesting.
They done with their own engine?
That was the thing. They made Cyberpunk 2077 in the Red engine, I think they called it. And that
was that the only game in that engine?
Witcher 3 might have been in it. I don't know what Witcher 3 was made in. But Cyberpunk 2077 did not work out that well for them on their own engine. So now they're just using some other one. So that could be neat. Do you think they'll do the series story, or do you think we'll get something new? Do you think this will be called Witcher, or do you think this will be called Witcher 4?
Oh, I don't think they're going to call it Witcher 4. They've been doing their whole, this is a new saga sort of thing. I would, I mean, I don't know, right? Who knows? But if I were a betting man, I would probably say that I wouldn't think that they'd call it The Witcher 4. This is the part where I sort of say that I have not played The Witcher 3 to completion ever. I think The Witcher 3 is too long in my opinion, but so I don't know much about Ciri. I didn't play that game a ton.
Mm.
So I can't really say, right? But I would probably personally, I'd probably be more interested if it wasn't something, or if it was something completely new. Just because, I mean, we've spent a lot of time in the Witcher universe at this point. I mean, what, The Witcher 1 came out in like 2007, I think, if I something around, somewhere around there.
Say it with confidence, and I'll believe you because
2007.
I played it in like 2016.
Oh yeah, same. Right. Like I played it well after the fact, but no, that first game's pretty old, and like I kind of want them to start fresh with something new, because if you do, it's the same thing with anything else, right? Because if you do the same thing over and over again, I mean, spin-offs, whatever, right? Like you can do something good there, but it's like the more you start chaining yourself back to all these different things, like the less directions you get to go before you start screwing all that up. And so it's like, I think CD Projekt Red, I can't say the name, dude. CD Projekt Red.
American.
That's me. CD Projekt Red. I mean, they're fine developers. I mean, I am willing to give them the benefit of the doubt over Cyberpunk. I know there's a lot of takes I've seen around that are like,
that one's really bad though.
Yeah,
like, there's acceptable levels of launch, and then there's just not.
I think that game was so bad that I don't think that can't happen again, right? Like it just can't.
Oh, that's what you mean. Okay, so benefit of the doubt of their next one will be okay.
Yeah,
not as in it was an honest mistake, guys.
Right,
Cyberpunk
it's like
2077. Just been unlucky.
I enjoyed my time with Cyberpunk 2077 in the 8 hours that I played of it, but it was like, but I don't know. But yeah, I think that they can't do the same thing again, right? Like I have to think that it would be better, especially on something that has as much goodwill as the Witcher franchise does at this point, where it's like,
it's like if Nintendo was making a Mario 65, right?
It's
like
The Witcher has almost reached like Dark Souls level of reverence.
Oh, it has.
Yeah.
Your church best game of all time list, Witcher 3 is going to be in the conversation. Yeah.
And like, so I approach it with cautious optimism, I guess. Whatever, that's the safe thing to say about anything, right? But I whatever. I'm not.
There's not a lot to go on right now, right? Like it's early.
I'm not the type of person who gets hyped over video games anymore pre-release. Like I don't have it in me to be like,
get excited for product.
Video games, like I which is awful.
If there was a Dragon's Dogma 2 announcement, I would jump out of my chair.
There's a couple of things like Skate 4. I felt that way. You literally said Skate 4.
Yep.
Yeah, like Skate 4 made me feel that way. If at this point, as awful as it would be, if I heard anything with the words like Metal Gear in it, I'd probably be like,
yeah, get your attention. Yeah,
Mario at this point. Yeah, Donkey Kong. Like, there's a couple, but on the whole, I'm not like, I don't know. I don't get hyped. That I don't have it in me. Like, that's too much time. Like, if you said it releases like if they did a Fallout where it was like, okay, this game's coming out in like 6 months, I'd be like,
yes, yeah.
But like, I don't have it in me to be like, oh shit, 2024 is gonna be so great. Like,
you don't want like 4 different preview trailers and then a launch trailer 2 months before it's out, and then a day of launch accolade trailer once the review embargo is out. It's too much. But yeah, no, I'm in the same camp as you. I hope they don't go with. Yeah, I hope they don't go with Ciri. I don't want them to do the Skywalker problem, where all the stories told in the Witcher universe has to relate to this specific group of people. Okay, yeah. Cautiously looking forward to whatever the next Witcher project is.
It'll be fun, hopefully. It's my hot take.
Yeah. The other big, this isn't so much an announcement, Zach, because this has been announced, but we finally got some gameplay footage of the new Harry Potter game, which actually, now that I think about it, does not include the phrase Harry Potter anywhere in the title.
Yeah, it's probably for the best at this point.
Yeah, I think we've all, as a society, have just decided to migrate away from J.K. Rowling, if that's fair to say, and, it's all about the Wizarding World
There you
brand
go.
and
Yep.
Hogwarts Legacy. Yeah.
Man, that new
So,
movie seems like it's gonna suck, but I will probably watch it.
I haven't watched any of the Fantastic Beast movies. Are
The
they
first one is fun.
worth watching? Are they good? First one's fun?
I legitimately think
Okay,
the first one's fun.
okay.
I did not like the second one because it sort of moved away from what made the first one great and sort of went into like, hey, you remember Harry Potter? That was fun.
Ah, is it the
Yeah.
Memberberry movie?
Yeah, sort of. And like the
Yeah,
third one's
like
even
Dobby?
worse. Well, I say the
Yeah.
third one's even
Remember
worse, but I just saw
Dobby?
yeah, I just saw
Yeah,
the trailer.
yeah,
But
okay. But,
no, the first one
yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
is a
it's
fun adventure movie.
okay. So I don't know if this is I mean, it's obviously it's probably the same universe, right? But, like, I don't know where in
Mhm.
the timeline. I wanna say this is probably a prequel.
Sure.
I'm sure they've discussed this in the full, like, 30-minute state of play, but I couldn't be bothered to watch that whole thing on a Harry Potter game. But I am surprised it took us this long to get, like, a big budget, proper Harry there have been Harry Potter games in the past, but nothing that was, like, maybe deserving of what is probably one of the larger media franchises in, like, the
Yeah.
early 2010s.
I mean,
Like,
it's probably
Harry
Warner
Potter's
Brothers'
big,
fault, right? Where it's like I
probably.
feel like Harry Potter, I remember in the 360 era, like when the 6th and 7th movie were coming out, I still remember being like one of the last sort of like cash in, like tie in games. Like I remember looking at the Xbox 360 version of like Harry Potter and the Half Blood
Mhm.
Half Blood Prince number
They
6.
made a Half-Blood Prince game?
Yeah,
I
it's
thought they
awful.
stopped after, like, 3.
No,
They
and it's
kept
real bad.
going?
Yeah. And that's the sort of thing where it's like
Yikes.
that was one of the last games. It was the 360 era, and I remember looking at it and I was like, wow, they're still doing these sort of movie tie-in cash grab things. And it's like, that
Mhm.
has to be Warner Brothers' fault. I would have to
Probably.
imagine. Like, because,
Yeah, but,
you
like,
know,
you can do a movie tie-in cash-in game, but you can still make it good. They
yeah.
usually aren't, but, like
When I say like
but, like
movie cash in, like, I feel like I think of something very, like, a very specific, like,
like the Wall-E game.
yeah, right. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I played a series of unfortunate events on PS2.
Oh, dude, I also tried that game was hard as I didn't know how to
It was
progress.
not
I didn't
good.
know. I
It
got
was not
stuck
good.
super early. But, yeah, did you watch any of the Hogwarts Legacy gameplay at all, or
Not a ton. I mean, it's
it looks like a
my interest in Harry Potter has sort of gone down, but
yeah, I'll maintain that the strength of Harry Potter was never in the plot or the
mhm.
characters, but just the imaginative world, which is why I think the movies are always way better than the books. I mean, I've
Sure.
read the books, right? Don't at me, I read a lot, but, like, the visual aesthetics of Harry Potter are much more interesting to me than, like, what the plot of those
Oh,
books
sure.
are. So I
Yeah.
think a game makes a lot of natural sense. Uh, looks cool. You have like a combo based combat system. You're like
Like Devil
a
May Cry.
late yeah, you're like a red shirt varsity senior at Hogwarts, so like you know the good spells, right? You're not
De-
casting like
Devil May
the
Cast.
basic. Yeah, honestly, if you watched it, it's kind of like Devil May Cast. Like people use Avada Kedavra in the game, and that's some serious
Just straight
stuff.
up
Like
murder.
you probably get the Cruciatus curse at some
It's like
point. Like
some
yeah,
kill a
like
kills bullshit.
this student is killing people in this game, and I think that's rad. I'm glad they I'm glad they, like,
Take that voice
were
clip,
bold
somebody.
enough to do it. Yeah. Like, though I will say this, wands, can we all agree they're the lamest form of magical implement in
Eh,
fantasy?
well, I mean, Robert Pattinson seems to think so. So,
Every other form of casting a spell is cooler than using a wand, and I will
are
die
you a
on
fan of
this hill.
the Doctor Strange? Like, point your finger up and
Sigil
moving in a
magic, like
circle.
drawing a sigil, S
What
tier.
what other way do you
Uh,
cast magic?
who doesn't want a big staff, right?
I'm
Sick.
wand over. I'm wand over staff.
Saves. Oh my god. What about an orb? Like you're levitating an orb magic is sick.
Okay,
Uh
sure.
no, component magic is lame. Wands are cooler than component magic. Like I don't want to like get a line of sulfur in my hand and blow on it to cast a spell. That shit's stupid. I hate it. Component pouches, get out of here. I'm always taking the talisman
Wizards of the
over a
Coast, are
component
you
pouch.
listening?
I know, like it's time to move on. Gary Gygax had an idea. It was a bad one. We can say that now in the year of our Lord 2022. Fuck component pouches. Uh Yeah, no, so I don't know, one suck. That's all I'm trying to get at. There's cooler stuff.
Yeah, where's the magic gun?
Oh man, can the Magic Gun save E3 2022 from not being canceled? Because it was.
Oh,
Yeah,
no, I tried. Believe me, I tried.
no. I liked E3.
Yeah, that's sad.
I
I
I growing up, right? You had G4 TV on the channel, and you'd watch. It'd be like Christmas week for E3. As someone who liked video games, you'd see all this cool stuff and all these previews. This was like pre-popularity of internet, or I was too young to really know where to go on there to find this stuff.
mhm, right.
But like that was where you got video game news, and you wanted to see a cool new thing. You watched E3, and that was like a whole week, right? And now it doesn't exist, and that's kind of sad. It's kind of
Yeah.
sad.
I mean, you get sort of like some of the facsimiles, right? Where it's like, we're going to watch Nintendo Power or Nintendo
Yeah,
Direct for
yeah.
half an hour.
So,
And like, those things are so cool. And honestly, I
mhm,
kind of think a bit more digestible nowadays for me. Like,
mhm, mhm.
I don't know that I could sit and watch E3, like 8 hours of E3 in 1 week.
So they are, and you bring up an excellent point because that's what killed E3, right? Is like, okay, Nintendo's going to pull out to do Nintendo Directs, which is a more they have full control over it. It's pre-edited, it's not live, and they can just stream it. Sony is doing PlayStation Experience. Microsoft is doing their like all access shows. EA is doing their own. Ubisoft is doing their own. Everyone who was at E3 is just doing their own stuff now because you're right, it is more digestible, and it is easier to make sure there's no live screw ups like what seemed to plague Ubisoft every single year.
Yeah. No We
Uh,
Play demo.
yeah, yeah, no Joseph Suarez saying "fuck the Oscars." Like
what, how are we going to get our Peggle 2 moments nowadays? That's all I got to say. Like,
Peggle 2, and then
yeah.
crickets in the
Do,
audience.
do, 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 do.
So, like, I get it. What we have now is each bit is better, but I wish everyone agreed to still show them all in the same week. Because like now you have to go to like find a calendar and say, oh, Nintendo Direct is April 18th, and then you have 2 months until the next Sony Direct. And it's like I can't that's a lot to keep track of, but you knew
Like,
E3 week, right?
I
You
don't
knew
know.
it.
Even like as soon as in the last couple of years, people are still doing that. Like Sony and Nintendo usually scheduled one of their events during E3 week, um, just to like get eyes on them during E3 week. Like towards the end there, it still felt even it wasn't the same, right? But it was still an event during that week or two. But you know, I think of it like the sitting at home watching your computer experience hasn't changed too dramatically, but damn, I wish I could have went to an E3 like convention, right? Like
Would have been cool. Would have been cool.
I remember I was a child and I was watching like footage of, journalists and people at on the stage floor of E3 playing early demos, and it just seemed like there's not a like I guess PAX still happens, right? But there's like not a that was the video game convention, and I feel like what else is there now?
Feel like the closest you can get is the Game Awards. It's the only like we're gonna bring a bit
Yeah.
from every publisher in, and we're gonna show some new stuff, but like
Yeah,
no hands on there,
yeah,
right?
you
Like,
can't go to the Game Awards. I mean, maybe some people can, but like
yeah, but
I
like
wanted to.
E3, it was gonna be like,
Yeah,
yo, did you hear what was off the Ubisoft booth, or did you hear what
yeah, like we got to get
Microsoft
to
just
the.
dropped? And you run across the hall, like, yeah,
I
you will
wish I
never
could.
get that experience again,
And
never.
now I feel like I finally entered the point in my life where that could have been a possibility, and then
Mhm.
this shit happens. Like
Yep.
what the hell? What the fuck,
Yeah.
Nintendo?
So, I'll pour one out for E3. I'll miss like I legitimately will miss it. Like that was always a highlight growing up.
Yeah,
So
it's sad. Maybe I mean maybe who knows? Maybe Nintendo and Microsoft and Sony will all be cool and they'll go schedule a press conference in June.
mhm.
But
Yeah, well, speaking of Sony's latest scheduled press conference, State of Play, they announced a new PlayStation Plus rework.
I saw
You
that.
you
Yeah,
look at this? Yeah. I mean,
it seems neat. I don't
I
know.
own a PlayStation. I own a PS5. I subscribe to PlayStation Plus, and I'm excited for their new best games of last year, the service, which is what it seems to be. So this is a direct competitor to Microsoft's like Xbox Game Pass, PC Game
Mhm.
Pass, which is legitimately a pretty good value. Like, and every new first party or like first party studio affiliated Microsoft game hits Game Pass day one. You want the new Halo? It's on Game Pass. You don't have to wait 3 months or whatever. It's there. Sony's not doing that. Sony is like yo, we'll add some highlights from last year and we'll charge you $3 more for it. And you can stream this PS3 game and the latency is probably going to be kind of rough. But
Yeah. So that's,
yeah,
I mean, so I don't have a PS5. I had a PS4. I now have a Xbox Series X. How do you will you purchase this? Will you purchase this product?
considering I already pay for the $10 PS Plus thing, just to be able to play it online, right? And I don't honestly
Mhm.
use my PlayStation all that much anymore. But I was playing the highlights, right? I was playing the new Ratchet and Clank. I was
Sure.
playing Demon Souls remake. Uh, this PlayStation Plus one is getting Returnal, so I'll probably upgrade
I
to the
was
tier
about
that
to
lets me
say,
play Returnal.
do you get PS? Are there any PS5 games you get
Yeah,
by?
there have
Okay,
been. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
because there's still maybe this is maybe a bit ignorant of me to say, but I feel like there's like 5 PS5 games still.
Yeah, the big ones.
It's been how many
Yeah,
years and how many like marquee PS5 games do we have? I think the same thing about Xbox, honestly, but at least you
yeah,
like, but they're getting all the
yeah.
new stuff. Like even if it's not
Mhm.
Xbox Series X stuff, it's still new, and it's
Yeah.
like they
You know
put
what?
out
I
these
mean,
consoles, and maybe it's because no one can buy them, but there's just no games. And I
it
realize that the pandemic happened and that
that's the
affected
big thing, right?
a
A
lot of
lot
things.
got delayed. A lot got delayed. Yeah,
But
but
it's like,
for PS5 being out for I think like 2 years now, it sure doesn't it feels like we're still kind of stuck in like the lair days of launch titles, right?
oh god, I'm
But
gonna go play Haze real quick.
oh dude, go play Haze, man. Haze is go play Rise Son of Rome while you're
Yeah,
at it
when are we doing a back selects on Haze?
on Haze. Dude, we can play Haze. I enjoyed my time with Haze when I dabbled in it
I
before.
never played Haze.
I liked Lair when it came out, to be fair, but
How much would a copy of Haze cost me now if I want? I'll have to hook up a PS3 to this capture card, and
yeah, we'll play
we'll play
Haze.
some Haze.
I can't imagine it's that much. It's like that. What game is it? Is it ET? That's like in the desert. There's like
Oh
hundreds of
yeah,
copies of ET.
I
There's a
have a
haze
copy of
pile
ET
somewhere.
somewhere around here. I found
Yeah,
it at a
there's a
Goodwill.
pile of haze. That's funny, actually. That's really
I,
good.
I was 11 years old, and I made my parents buy me the copy of ET at Goodwill so I could put it somewhere. I don't know where it is anymore. I think it's in a bin.
It's pretty good. Yeah. Sorry, we're moving down the list, Zach.
What do we got?
You've read some Brandon Sanderson, and I'll use the word some.
I read about 30 pages of some Brandon Sanderson.
Fantasy hot ticket item, fantasy author
Yeah,
of in the zeitgeist, Brandon Sanderson, the dude who
yeah.
stops
4-book
writing just to
Kickstarter.
write. Yeah, he stops writing to take breaks from writing by writing more books. Brandon Sanderson. He's written stuff like Stormlight Archive, so like Way of Kings. He's written Mistborn. He's written all sorts of stuff. Dude does not stop writing. Uh, so FromSoft, company of Elden Ring, which recently collabed with George R. R. Martin to develop that world, has come
Sick
out and say,
collab.
"Yeah, we want to work." Yeah, they said they want to collab with Brando Sando. I think that's cool. Uh, I think this came in a response. Brandon Sanderson had an interview like a couple weeks ago where someone asked him like, "What do you think about FromSoft pairing up with George R. R. Martin?" And he was pissed. He's like, "They should have asked me." I mean, like jokingly pissed, right? But he was like, "I wish
Sure.
they would have asked me." Like, I've been on record saying they're my favorite games ever. So he says he already has a pitch. So this will probably happen, especially off the back of
In
his
like 5
Kickstarter.
years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's probably how long it takes to make. Probably like 3 or 4. I think it's been every three
But it's
years
just like,
FromSoft's been landing lately.
so I mean, you've seen Elden Ring, right? You've played a fair bit of that game,
Good.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and but it's like when you play that game, are you sitting there going like, oh man, the George R. R. Martin touch is really what makes this game is like I can feel it. Like,
No.
do you
No.
think?
Oh,
And like,
you can feel it a little bit in some stuff. Like there's an event in the history of this game called the Night of Black Knives, and I'm like, that's George.
mm,
That's Gurm as fuck. Like
oh, okay.
that is textbook grade A
Just-
Gurm. There's a character called the Dung Eater, and you better believe that was Gurm. Uh, like there, the Finger Maidens is another occupation in that world. I'm like, that's unfortunately also George. Uh, like it's there, but
Yeah, because
they
what I was
come
about
out
to
and
ask,
yeah.
what I was about to ask is like, does this excite you? Because when I mean, I think I know you or enough by now to say probably, but when you play this FromSoft game, do you think once Brandon Sanderson's influence filters down into the FromSoft format, do you like are do you are you excited about that? Do you fear that it's going to get distilled to a point where you don't necessarily recognize it or care?
I feel like Brandon Sanderson has two. I mean, he's a good author, right? Obviously, he's super popular. He
Mhm.
just had like the most successful Kickstarter of all time by like doubling the previous record. So like, if I had to say his two strongest points, it's one, he just writes like crazy. He writes so much, you can't stop him from writing. You could power like a perpetual engine from him on a keyboard. And two is he writes really concrete magic systems. And for some people, this is a con. Some people want their magic more like Lord of the Rings, where like, what's Gandalf going to do here? Can he save us? Can he not?
Mm,
It's like in Brandon Sanderson, you know, like, okay, he does this, and according to this law of magic, it does that, and that would solve
I
and
see.
react in this consequence. Like his magic systems have already been broken out into rules, and you can logically follow this is how it happens. So I think from a game design mechanic, signing on Brandon Sanderson to write like the underlying magic system of a game makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think his worlds are imaginative enough to make a like kind of like an ethereal game world from. Uh, uh, People in the past have criticized Brandon Sanderson as being a video game author, so I think this makes a lot of
Sure.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so I
Well,
think that's cool. I hope,
yeah.
and he likes that company, so I hope he gets to make a game that he enjoys playing. So,
The
uh,
Way of Rings.
The Way of Rings.
There you go.
All right,
You can take that one for free. Bandai Namco.
so what we'd have Elden
Okay.
Soulsborne Sekiro Kings
Yes.
would be the genre that this
The
game would
w-
take place in.
The Way of Soulsborne Sekiro. I don't know.
I don't know.
What else is fun on this list? What do you got?
Yeah, we're gonna move down the list a little bit. Zach, I've never played these games. You have, I
Oh,
understand.
I played the
There
first
was
one.
a there
I
was an
love Monkey
announcement.
Island.
Return to Monkey Island announced. And can you give me some backstory? Because I don't know the full story on this. Who was doing the announcing? From my understanding, there's like three main guys that are like are Monkey Island, and this was
Yeah,
one of the original guys that
yeah. I'll be honest. I haven't
came out and announced
really.
it.
I haven't. I don't know that much of that history from what I've just from reading. Reddit threads and reactions and things like that. It seems like some of the important guys are back. I think maybe the writers.
Okay.
And which again, I don't know them. I don't know them or their work that much. But if the people who wrote Monkey Island 1 are coming back for Monkey Island whatever we're on now, that is exciting because that game
Okay.
is to this day hilarious. Like
Okay.
uh, I laughed a lot while playing The Secret of Monkey Island. I think that's the first one, right? The Secret of Monkey Island.
It has
Um,
an evergreen humor.
yeah. Yes.
Classic humor. Okay.
Yeah. Ask me about Loom. Uh, no, but
Sure.
yeah, no. That's for my Monkey Island fans out there. But
Mm.
no, we should play that game sometime. But I like
Mhm.
the first
Point
Monkey
point
Island. I
point
mean, I
and
don't know
click
what else.
material.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about this. I like the first one a lot. I am excited for more from those guys.
Okay. I think one other funny thing to note about it is that whoever did the announcing on his Twitter announced it on April 1st, and then he put up
Yeah,
the
that is
same
funny.
trailer again on April 2nd, and he's like,
Just be
"No,
like,
but for real."
that
Dude, I
wasn't
think
a
it's
joke.
pretty
That
good.
wasn't a joke.
It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. Uh, Fortnite raises $144 million for Ukrainian humanitarian relief, which just goes to show how much
Yeah,
money Fortnite makes in a day off
right.
of
I mean,
microtransaction.
say what
Like
you will.
good on them. Yeah,
That's
great
what.
thing.
Say what you will about the microtransactions and their
Yeah.
strategies and whatnot. But that is great. That's great.
Yes. Yeah, that is a significant amount that will deliver appreciable assistance. So good on Epic. Nothing really else to say there.
Yeah.
Um, Nintendo delays Zelda Breath of the Wilds 2
Wow,
from
what a surprise.
winter 2022 to spring 2023. Aonuma played Elden Ring and was like, "Whoa, guys, we got more work to do. Put it back in the oven. It's not ready yet." Uh, I
Get rid
feel
of
like
the
that's what
UI.
had
Get
to
rid of the
happen.
UI.
That had to add more fingers. It needs
Too many quest markers. Get him out of there. Get him out.
someone start giving Epona a double jump stat. Like, you feel like that's what had to have happened, right? Like,
Oh,
I
I
mean,
mean, she,
obviously it's probably just coincidence, but it is funny to think that like they're panicking over there because of how good Elden Ring was.
I mean, it brings up a good point where it's like, I I played some Elden Ring. I keep meaning to come back to it, and I never do, just because I feel like that is an effort every time I go to launch that game. But I like Elden Ring much more than I have any of the other FromSoft games, and I am excited for its popularity. I was about to say if only for the reason, but it's not, because I do enjoy that game. But one of the things I am excited about is for people to take some of the design elements of that game and import them into things that maybe are not exactly straight up Souls likes. I mean, there's some of the things that I like about there's some Dark Souls bullshit in that game, I think, that still doesn't appeal to me personally. But I'm excited for some. Like, if people take that open world philosophy, if people get back to a sense of like organic exploration, and that's the things I want to see come out of Elden Ring and into other things. If it would disappoint me if like I know it's not going to happen, but it would disappoint me if Breath of the Wild 2 came out and it was like, wow, Breath of the Wild 2 is impossible to play. When you die, you lose all your Korok seeds or something like that. Like
you lose all your rupees on death.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the lesson they would take. That doesn't seem like a Nintendo approach.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they'll make it non-durable weapons or like infinite durability weapons, hopefully. Fingers crossed for Breath of the Wild 2. Maybe they'll learn that dungeons are in fact cool and people want to play them. But yeah. No, I mean, I think there's, like you said, there's a lot of lessons to learn from Elden Ring that I think they got very right. And I am excited to see people steal from them. How about we wrap up this news section here, Zach?
All right. Yep.
Let's wrap it up.
When
was the last time you played Final Fantasy 14?
Several months ago.
Several months ago?
Probably half a year, if not more. Last summer, maybe. Okay.
And you played up through A Realm Reborn, so like 1.0, well, technically 2.0, and a bit after, right? But yeah, well, did you start Heavensward?
I'm hard locked right now at the part where you have to complete the raid, and I never did that.
Okay. So
there's a part of me.
Sometime.
I know there's that's a video there. Watch us stumble through
the Crystal Tower series. Yeah. It's like 10-year-old raid where everyone's like 50 over the eye level. Yeah.
Yeah. Watch Zach get flustered about something that takes 3 seconds and 0 effort to do.
Yeah, but they Square Enix put out their big like patch 6.1 for FF14. So this is the first big patch after Endwalker, which was the latest expansion. You know, it won a lot of Game of the Year awards type of things. People like that Endwalker. I haven't made it yet. I've heard that. I'm on I beat Shadowbringers. I haven't made it to Endwalker, so hopefully get there at some point. But you know, they added some cool stuff. I think what's interesting is that every patch they just keep removing stuff from post A Realm Reborn and pre Heavensward.
Are they removing more?
It was 100 quests to begin with, I think. There's like 10 patch cycles that added 10 quests every time. It was like a 4-year gap between AAR and Heavensward. Like, it was huge. And so now every new patch is just removing quests from it or condensing it, because they were all boring fetch quests. Like, there was not a lot of plot. There was a little bit. There was a little bit of plot, but not a ton between.
I enjoyed the story of the first of the main Final Fantasy 14 game.
Oh, of the main, yes, but between Realm Reborn and Heavensward was a lot of.
I enjoyed some
near the end. Yeah, near the end it did some stuff, but a lot of it was kind of inconsequential. So they're removing a lot of that. They're removing some gender restrictions for certain clothing items. So cool.
That's cool. Yeah,
good on them. Yeah, good on them. I want my female character to wear a suit and a tuxedo. That's fun. Yeah.
Meanwhile, absolutely. I'm over here like I can finally make my femboy catboy. This is a reality in Final Fantasy 14.
So it's going to do all the usual stuff like a new raid series, new PvP. That's not really what I care about, Zach. There's 2 things I care about, and that is the Praetorium and the Praetorium. I love the Praetorium. This was a 55-minute. Let me explain the context for this, because so at the end of A Realm Reborn, which was like the big quest line for the original Final Fantasy 14 game, pre any expansions, you had what was called the Praetorium, which was like a huge mega dungeon. It was the big climax to the whole story, and it was like a huge dungeon run and like 5 different boss fights, and none of the cutscenes were skippable, and they were provided ample amounts of dialogue, and to complete this run would take you like 50 minutes. Unfortunately, this also happened to be the best source of XP and currency for buying endgame gear. Was you do your MSQ roulette each day, chalk off an hour, but you'll get like 600 poetics of tomestones and you'll get like a full level and a half XP. So Zach,
Mm-hmm.
it's now a 4-man dungeon.
Wait, what?
Get the 8 out of here. It'll be a 4-man
No,
dungeon.
no.
Yeah,
It's
it'll be 4-man.
are they making it hard again?
No, they're making it easier.
Eh,
So it's a 4-man. They're cutting out some of the bosses. They're moving them to separate instanced fights. So like the
oh,
final fight will be like you solo with maybe some like story companions. Uh and they're making some cutscenes skippable. So the Praetorium,
what? No.
if you want to run a class, if we want to record a video of the old
Oh,
school
we gotta.
Praetorium, we have until Tuesday
Oh
because
no.
I think
Oh
it
shit!
launches on
It's
the
Sunday.
12th. So if you want to run a Praetorium vid, we can record one for posterity. But otherwise, it's going to be changed, unfortunately.
Oh
Uh,
man.
so that was like the big thing I took away from the patch notes. Oh, and they're adding the duty system. The duty system is, it's a Final Fantasy game. You have a party, right? And you
Right.
have your rogues gallery of characters. And whenever you did a dungeon in Final Fantasy 14, you would just play with random other players. So it's an MMO at the end of the day. What they started doing with Shadowbringers was allowing you to take those story companions into the dungeon. They kind of sucked. Like your run would take like
Sure.
20 minutes longer, but they had some neat dialogue and it was cool to do it with the story characters that had a invested motive. So they're adding that into the older dungeons. So they're
Really?
adding that into 14. They're adding it into Heaven's Word, Stormblood.
That
Yeah,
is
they're
actually super
refactoring.
exciting to me.
They're doing a ton of changes. Yeah, it's cool. They're doing a ton of changes to
Ca-
2.0. Like if you're a
ca-
tank and you have tank anxiety and you don't want to let players down and you want to
That's
learn a
me.
new dungeon, yeah. So just do it, right? So that stuff's neat. Those are
Are
the
they are
big
they are
big
they doing the
changes.
raid? Are they putting duty into the raid, or do I still got
They're
to do
not
that?
doing not yet.
Oh,
They're
god
not
damn
doing
it!
it yet. You still got to do the raid. The raid
One
takes
one
like
other
20 minutes.
question.
I did it in a roulette last night. I just did it last night.
One question I will have for you is: can you do a mix? Like, if me and you were to play or were to be in a party, we couldn't half
Nope.
fill. Okay,
I
that
don't think
sucks,
so.
but
I don't
I
think
get it.
so.
Yeah,
Actually,
I
I don't know. I
sure.
don't imagine that you could.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I will say, when we originally started talking about maybe we would do a podcast, and this was like 6 months ago or something like that, like
oh
last year.
yeah. Yeah.
We were originally going to make it a video series called "Pray for Me," where we would do a run of the Praetorium in Final Fantasy 14, and it would take like 45 minutes to an hour, and that
And that
and
would be our podcast length.
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever we could talk
Us running
about
Praetorium.
during one run of Praetorium would be uh the video, and I'm sad that Square Enix and Yoshi P have killed our dreams. So thanks for that.
We can still run one Pray for Me episode. It's not too late. We can do it because that is a hilarious idea. Yeah, so that's patch 6.1. Other than that, the only thing is I have a list of new releases here and I have played none of them. I don't
Yep.
know if you have any thoughts on any of them. Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which seemed immediately forgotten about once it got released.
That game seems cool. I've watched some of that, and
you like mouthful mode.
I do like mouthful mode. Just
Yeah.
no, I
Lego
wasn't. I'm
Star
not gonna do
Wars
that.
Skywalker Saga seems like a cool Lego game. It has air combos. You can juggle people. That's neat.
It's getting a lot of hype. People love
Yeah.
Lego.
People like that one, man.
Apparently, this one's good.
Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy
Yeah.
Origin.
I still want to
We
play
gotta
that.
kill chaos. We gotta kill chaos.
Let me check my Steam. Did I sell my Counter-Strike skins from last night? No, I didn't.
It's an epic store.
I know, but
Yeah, it's
damn it,
unfortunate.
I want it. I want to play that game so bad.
Weird West, which is like a real time. If Fallout 2 was a real time shooter, like a twin stick shooter,
That game seems cool.
seemed neat on Game Pass. Probably will take a look at some point. Chrono Cross: The Radical Dreamers
Seems less cool.
seems significantly less cool. Chrono Cross not as good as Chrono Triggers. Radical Dreamers even worse than Cross.
Bad ports, I'm hearing.
Even on all console or like?
Oh, I don't
is that
know.
like a PC
That's what
problem?
I read the Steam reviews. I can't speak for whether that's on consoles or not.
Because it's always hit or miss with like a game from Japan, whether it's going to run on PC or not. Ghostwire
Yeah, that's true.
Tokyo. I don't know if you remember the trailers they put
Yeah.
out at previous Game of Years.
Vibes
Didn't
I'm
play it.
seeing the vibes I'm seeing for that. I've watched a little bit of it too. The vibes are that it's competent, if not a little bland and unremarkable. So
Okay. That's
yeah.
about what I would expect out of Ghostwire Tokyo. Cool CG trailer. It's up there
Yeah.
with like Dead
Oh, yeah.
Island 1 for like one of the more compelling trailers. And then
That's true.
just didn't translate to much.
Yep.
And Tunic. which is a
That game
game I
seems
want to
neat.
play because
Yeah.
Tunic looks real neat. It's following in the vein of like Death's Door, of like the cutesy art style Zelda kind of Dark Soulsy game. Tunic looks really cool. It's also on Game Pass. I will
Yeah.
probably play it at some point.
So it feels like almost feels like a cross between like the Legend of Zelda, like Dark Souls, and like Fez, of just like just incomprehensible bullshit in a good way. So I hear.
What's the witness guy's name? I always forget his name, but it feels like a little bit of him, like with like the meta puzzle elements. Jonathan Blow.
That's the is that the same
Fez guy?
No, not Fez. He's the braid guy. I think he's also the witness guy.
Oh, okay. But regardless, Tunic looks cool. I don't know, Zach, are there any other recent releases you can think of that I might have missed? But
it is Jonathan Blow.
Okay.
I mean, probably I'm gonna say, but
yeah, but nothing that's. Oh, I didn't know if there was something new that came out that you were looking at that was like.
There's not a lot coming out right now.
It's spring. You know, usually it's more of a holiday season or a summer type of industry. But
yeah.
All right, Zach, you want to lead us into our first podcast topic discussion?
I will shortly after this break. We'll be back in a few seconds.
Good call.
See you then. And we're back. Hey, Randy.
Hey, Zach.
So now that we finished with the news, we're going to roll into our topic of the week. In this section, we're going to pick maybe a bit more of an abstract concept, or maybe either pick an abstract concept or drill down into the minutia of a particular mechanic or something like that. We'll work with it as we go along. But for this first inaugural episode of the Back Select Cast, we're going to talk about ammunition. Just as a concept, like I said earlier, we're going to talk about games that do it well, games that do it not well, games that do it interestingly, sort of, way over pros of cons of different systems and things like that. So I think we're just going to jump into it with Randy, you have an example listed here that I think is pretty interesting, and you wanted to talk a little bit about Doom 2016 versus Doom Eternal 2018, 19?
Yeah, so I don't know when Doom Eternal came out. 2019 probably at this point.
Yeah, 2017.
But yeah, the revamped series of Doom, right? So most of us have probably played a Doom game. We're familiar with the idea of a weapon wheel.
Right.
So in Doom, it's a classic like retro style shooter. You are running around arenas, like little close and quarter designed battle arenas. There are monsters spawning, and you're shooting demons. That's Doom. You have a weapon wheel, which is like a radial menu, and you can pick from a bunch of different weapons. You have your classic, like, what is it called, super shotgun or something from Doom.
Oh yeah,
you have the combat shotgun and the the double barrel super shotgun. You have a plasma rifle, a Gauss rifle, sniper, a chain gun, a rocket launcher, a grenade launcher. You have your whole arsenal, right? And when I played Doom 2016, I found myself liking some of these guns a lot more than I liked some other guns. Everyone has their favorite. Super shotgun, pretty super. It's pretty good. Assault rifle, also a fun one with the grenade launcher attachment. It lets you handle a lot of stuff. Rocket launcher's good, and I use the sniper rifle. And like those four were my Doom 2016 loadout of choice. You had all of them, and you could swap to them at any point, but I was using those four. I didn't find very many particular enemies that couldn't have been handled by those four effectively. And in Doom Eternal, you have pretty much the same exact roster of weapons, but the game forces you to use all of them. And how this leads into ammo is the following. Doom 2016, you had plenty of ammo for every gun, so you could get away with using 4. In Doom Eternal, ammo is so scarce that you just had to rotate through all of them because you ran out of assault rifle bullets, you ran out of shotgun shells.
Right, yeah.
And Doom Eternal is probably a better designed game. Like, it's probably tighter, right?
I mean, I know your opinion on Doom Eternal.
Objective. I do. I like it way less than Doom 2016. I mean, the story I think is objectively worse in Eternal than 2016.
Sure, yeah.
Not that people are playing Doom for the story, but like,
I
think a lot of the charm is missing in Doom Eternal. But from a gameplay design, Doom Eternal's probably a better shooter, but I had less fun with it because the ammunition problem wasn't I had ammo to use these guns I liked. It was I felt like guns I liked were being taken away by not having ammo for them in Eternal.
Sure.
Uh,
And it's like,
so
oh, what were you saying?
I was just gonna say, like, the way these new Doom games have you get more ammo is you would use the chainsaw, you'd kill an enemy, it would drop ammo. And
Mhm.
you were doing that loop. You were shooting them, you're running low, you use the chainsaw. Uh, that loop doesn't really it adds more steps in Eternal. So like you have a similar style to get more armor. You have a glory kill to get more
Right.
health. You have a chainsaw to get more ammo. But the ammo it gives you is so little that you have to use all four. And enemy types are strong to everything but their counter. So in Eternal, in Doom 2016, if you came across like a big brain spider guy, you could just kill him with a moderate amount of bullets. Like maybe shooting a laser beam at the brain would be a quicker way to kill it, but you could get it done with the assault rifle. And Doom Eternal, if you don't use the counter, you are in for a very bad time. So it's forcing you to switch between all these weapons, dealing like on the fly with each enemy you're coming across. Like I get it, it makes sense, but I had less fun with it.
Do you find yourself
So,
in situations in that game where you have to, where like, oh shit, there's this enemy, and the weapon that is most effective against this enemy, I am already out of bullets for, and so now I have to waste the bullets of two different guns, um, just to even kill the guy.
so I found myself in that situation because I just wanted to use the guns I liked on every enemy.
Sure.
But if you were playing it the way they designed you to play it, you would have enough because you would only use the weapon for the counter for the enemy
Right.
you're facing. Yeah.
Because it's the problem. Well, not a problem, but it's like it's the game design objective, right? Where it's how do we get players to engage with the full variety of weapons
Yes. That is exactly what
in
it
our game,
is.
right? And I feel like that ammunition is probably one of the that is a strategy in like you said, Doom Eternal is to limit the ammunition so that you have to uh, cycle through your
Mhm.
guns while you build
Yeah.
up ammo for the ones you're not using at the time. Because I mean, like you think about other games where ammunition probably isn't really a problem, right? You pick up more ammo than you know what to do with, but you can, for example, you can only hold two weapons at one time, and sometimes
Yeah.
that, like I'm thinking of Uncharted when I say that, and
Mhm.
sometimes, in some games, that means you can just use whatever guns you like and nothing else because you can hold two of them, and why would you ever want to switch?
Yeah.
Or there could be some games where it's like, okay, in this level there is a ton of assault rifles on the ground, or and then you get two levels in her and it's like, oh well, I'm out of assault rifles and the only weapons that are around are shotguns or something like that.
Mhm.
And I remember we played Halo, the first one, a little
Yes.
while ago, and I remember that being a thing in that game where it was like, oh, I'm going to use this assault rifle that I picked up and I'm going to use it through the whole level. Uh,
Mhm.
but oh crap, we're fighting a lot of aliens in this
I
level,
was gonna
so
say, if you were on
yeah.
a level which was a marine ship, then there would be sensibly a lot of marine weapons around. If you
Mhm.
were in the Covenant archives, you're probably gonna have to use an energy weapon, which
Yeah.
is neat. I think that's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and like when I remember we played Halo, and I didn't feel like that was super limiting most of the time. There was a couple of times where that was annoying,
Mhm. Yeah.
um, mostly because I felt like some weapons got the short end of the stick. Like there was never enough shotgun ammo, um, where it was like it wasn't like this is the shotgun level. It was just like, well, you're never going to use a shotgun unless you're
Well,
playing
the flood
multiplayer.
level is the shotgun level in
Yeah, right.
Halo Combat Evolved, but yeah, Halo's a good example because Halo, the way it dispenses ammo lends to the credibility of the world that you're in, I feel
Hmm.
like. Like, you didn't just find a glowing ammo pack in Halo. You found, like, a downed dropship that had, like, the Marines' weapon in it, and that lended to, like, the greater scope of what's going
Yeah,
on in Halo, and I think it did a really good it reinforced a lot of the world ideas in Halo.
but even then, sometimes it would be like, oh well, I died and respawned, and now I don't have my assault rifle with 600 bullets anymore, and now
Mhm.
I only have a needler
Yeah.
with 30 shots in it, and it
Yeah.
sucks. And it was just
Yeah.
like, well, so I mean, whatever. That's an old game. I'm not going to rag on Halo Combat Evolved 2001 for that hard, but it was
Yeah.
annoying at the time. And I haven't played most of the more recent Halos. At least the single players. I've played a lot of multiplayer, but I don't know if that problem was ever addressed in later Halo games or not.
The first Halo campaign's the only one I've played. I
Yeah,
haven't
it's
I
neat.
can't say, but,
I would like to
what
play the other
what
ones at some time. What's up?
yeah, what about the other side of the coin? What about games of infinite ammo? I feel like Mass Effect is probably the big one, where you have an overheating mechanic rather
Right.
than a limited quantity of
Well,
bullets.
so I never played Mass Effect 1. I've played 2 and 3.
Hmm.
And in those games, you still don't have infinite shots. Like you can run out of ammo. But every gun shares the same ammo.
Hmm.
There isn't like, here's the assault rifle ammo, here's the submachine gun ammo. And was that like that in Mass Effect 1? Because I remember it had a different system in that game.
Yeah, so Mass Effect 2 and 3, and presumably Andromeda, I don't know about Andromeda,
I think it's the
uses
same, yeah.
universal thermal clips, I think is the
Yep.
in-universe name.
Little red
Mass
guys.
Effect 1 is you had a gun and it had a heat meter, and that was it. There was no quantity. You had infinite. You would just overheat. That was the whole thing in Mass
Oh,
Effect
yeah.
1.
I mean,
And I want to dive into this a little bit deeper, but initial
okay.
thoughts on Mass Effect 2, how it did ammo.
I mean, it ended up making it just sort of generic. And not, I don't even mean that in a bad way, because I don't feel like every single game has to have in-depth, unique ammo mechanics, right? Whatever. You
Hmm.
find, you're right, you use ammo, you have to go search for it after a fight, right? Like, whatever. If anything, it just made it so I focused less on it. Because
That's my question, because like you probably played Mass Effect 2 a while ago at this point, right? But like,
I replayed it a little bit recently. What's up?
can you ever remember a situation in Mass Effect 2 where you thought about ammo, like thought about running out, thought about needing to find some? Like, did it
Like,
influence your gameplay at all?
not a ton. There would be situations where I'd get done with a giant fight and then I'd have to go
Hmm.
run around and like collect it. But like,
Sure,
so
but like,
I had to think about it, but I didn't have to like, I had to think about it, but I didn't have to strategize over it, right? Like it wasn't a situation where I was
mhm.
like in the middle of a fight. It wasn't um a super present a super present thought. It was just whatever. When I was done, I went and go found the glowing red things.
Mhm, mhm.
And you know, you get the satisfaction of collecting a little bit when you get when you find a large stack of ammo.
So my question for you and for BioWare would be,
Oh
why
god.
even move to that system? Why change from just overheating? What is it? Just because Gears of War came out in
I
the
guess I don't
meantime?
know.
Like,
Like maybe, well,
why
I think
why
some of it
move
was
the
their,
clips? It's not an issue.
yeah.
I
I
played
mean,
on the hardest difficulty. Ammo is not a problem.
so there was a little bit of balancing, right? Where it was like if you use the energy rocket launcher,
Mhm,
um, you could only, so maybe like maybe that's the thing where if I was using a pistol, I never really had to worry about ammo. I had 300 shots and I pick up a cell of ammo and I get 40. So it's like
mhm.
whatever. But if I'm using the energy rocket launcher, I get like 3 shots before I had to go find a cell. So like I guess the sort of, I mean, I don't know. I'm not BioWare, right? I wasn't there, but I would imagine that the design sort of thought process behind that was that for most weapons you didn't have to care. For some weapons you did, and they all
Okay,
used the same ammo. So it was like,
okay.
that was my recollection anyway. Because I didn't use a lot of heavier weapons my first time through, but then the second time I played it,
Yeah.
um, I sort of started experimenting a little bit more in some of those heavy weapons. Like you got a couple of shots, and so it wasn't a thing where it was like you got to use it, right? It wasn't like the sort of, oh, I picked up a rocket launcher off the ground and like Halo style. I picked up a rocket launcher off
Mhm.
the ground. I shot it 4 times and now it's gone. It wasn't that.
Make them count. Make them
Yeah.
count.
So it
Yeah.
wasn't that, but it was still like you only got it every so often. So you picked up a
Mhm.
weapon and it was like, and maybe that's the sort of thing where it was you picked it up often enough for you to reliably have the gun for most encounters, but you didn't get it infinitely. And again, I haven't played one, so I don't know if it was like a situation where like the rocket launcher, you got to use it every 5 seconds uh, because it just kept refilling itself. I don't even know if there was one in Mass Effect 1.
Do you want to dive into some of the lore implications of them changing the ammo systems between Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3?
Sure, hit me with
Uh,
it.
so we're a galaxy-spanning civilization
Okay.
that has these guns. They're the way the guns in Mass Effect work is all of them have a little metal rod inside of them, and each shot is shaving off a little metal speck and using a Mass Effect field to accelerate it to near the speed of light. Force equals m time a. So even though the mass is really low, it's going so fast, it's like a bullet hitting you. That's how the guns work. So in Mass Effect 1, that generated a lot of heat doing that, hence the overheating mechanic. But you never really had
Mhm.
to reload because you're only getting rid of such a fractional piece of this metal rod that it was never an issue. But I guess in Mass Effect 2, someone had the bright idea that no one in the galaxy had had before this to what if when it got hot, you just ejected the hot part and put a cold part in, and
Oh,
that's a thermal clip.
there you go.
That's all that is. And it's like, first off, no one had that thought in the 1,000 years of intergalactic travel. And two, between the day you had that thought and literally like 13 months later, every single gun, every single cannon in the galaxy has been retrofitted to work with this thermal clip idea. And it's just so silly
Just,
to me. Like,
just don't think
what?
about it too hard.
That's fine, but they put codex entries in. There's like 7. They want you to think about it. They're like, look how much we thought about it. And I'm like, you didn't at all. Like, it's so bad. Uh, yeah. So
No,
that's my
okay.
thoughts on the Mass Effect
Would it be
ammo
would it
system.
be better? Would it be better if in Mass Effect 2 you had a combination? Some guns were thermal clips and some were overheating, and then Mass Effect 3 rolls around and they're all thermal clips.
It might have made a little bit more sense, but the events of those games are like back to back to back. Like I just
More
don't
or
see
less,
why they
yeah.
changed it. I don't see what it adds from a game design perspective. I suppose you couldn't fire infinite rockets, but like the amount of time it would have taken, like if you wanted to do that in ME1, you could, but you'd have to spend like 30 minutes with the amount of overheating you get. So like, I don't, I just don't get it. I think it's clearly just a case of Gears of War came out, so we got to do what Gears of War did. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
legitimately, I think that's the problem.
sure. I
But
mean,
I
I
mean,
don't
I
know.
say problem. Maybe it's not a problem, right?
I
It's
found. I mean,
fine.
I found it
But
mostly inconsequul. Like whatever.
it, in the
Like I
grand
said
scheme
earlier, it
of
was
things,
like.
it is. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you're right. Like it's like I mean, it's why we're talking about it, right? To get like sort of diving into some of that minutia. But at the end of the day, it is just sort of like I'm going to pick up some ammo, and there's different ways to do that. Um, I will. How do you like to? Are you a fan of auto pickup ammo, or are you a fan of press triangle to pick up ammo?
Do I have inventory space that matters? If I have
Uh,
infinite inventory, then I want auto pickup. If I'm playing like a survival horror game where I have to fit it into my attaché case, then I
sure.
want to pick it up
Because I'm thinking of
manually.
like
Yeah.
Uncharted, Gears of War style, where you have to. It's like the icon pops up and you have to pick up the ammo versus just walking over it and collecting it. Because I don't see a reason to pick it up.
I think Uncharted, I like it because they went to an incredible amount of effort to animate different
Oh,
contextual
sure.
pickup animations, and that felt cool. Like while I'm sprinting or while I'm on a vine, he'll have a different pickup Nathan Drake scoop up ammo animation, and like that's some 2 animators worked 3 years on just ammo pickup, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
But
Because like
so
the opposite direction is Resident Evil 4, right? Where you're hitting the button
mhm,
on the red column on the
kneeling
ground.
down and
You hit the
yeah.
button. It goes into your inventory screen. It says, "Do you want to pick up the ammo?" Then you have to button over to the option that says yes, and then fit it
Mhm.
into your case.
Or it could be like Monster Hunter, where you come across a bush and you kneel down in the dirt and you scrape around for a couple seconds and you pick up a berry and then you go to your inventory and craft that berry with a nut pod and you make a bullet out of it
You're sifting for
and then you
bullets.
shoot that. Yeah, you effectively you're sifting for bullets because that's how Monster Hunter does it. Is
Yeah,
the game has crafting as a core component, and so you'll run around and you'll pick up all this stuff and you'll transform that into either like arrow coatings, so like sleep or poison status effects, right? Poison, paralysis. We all know the classic RPG status effects. Toxic is another one. Uh,
blight.
and so in order to use these weapons, like the heavy bowgun, light bowgun, arrow or bow, that requires these status effects, you have to put in a lot more manual effort to go around and collect all these things or dump all of your money into ammo. So like when you're first starting out in Monster Hunter, no one wants you to play the bow. The bow's like the easiest weapon, but
Oh,
it's the
sure.
most expensive weapon. So
You got
like
to keep
it's not a
crafting
starter
arrows.
thing. Yeah, pretty much, or buying the materials to craft them. And there's always the infinite bullet type, right? But it'll deal
Sure.
like 10 damage, whereas the mega one might do like 16. So like you're not using the default one very often. So yeah, Monster Hunter. I don't know if I like crafting bullets, man. I'd rather have like the infinite quiver. Like just they're
Yeah,
there, they're infinite. It's fine.
yeah. I'm there. I'm kind of there too. It's like for bows specifically. I mean, I don't know. Again, it's like
Put it on
how
a
much of a pain in
cooldown,
the ass.
right?
Yeah, because
Just
it's
put it
like,
on a cooldown. Like, yeah, you can load your dragon ammo, but maybe you can only do it once every 2 minutes, and then you shoot your dragon ammo, and then it'll come back. Like,
do you have
having those finite resources feels bad.
Do you have a conceptual problem with a system where we'll say maybe using the example of a bow again, the regular arrows are fine. Like if you don't have the fancy arrows, you're still going to do a good job, but you
Mhm.
can craft like the
Yeah.
fire arrows if you wanted to, but you don't necessarily like. It seems like your
I
problem
would
with Monster
rather have
Hunter,
that.
because it seems like your problem with Monster Hunter is that the the infinite ammo type just doesn't do anything useful.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it'll still get the job done, but, the Monster Hunter, you're grinding the same monster over and over again,
Hmm.
and it's about increasing your speed you're increasing your efficiency through gaining player skill.
I see.
So if it takes me 8 minutes more to kill a monster with regular ammo than it does status ammo, then
You
I
do
wanna
that
use
six
the status
times.
stuff. Exactly, exactly, to get, like, his cool hat made out of his skin or something, then I'm gonna make the
You
good
monster.
ammo to do it.
Who's the
So,
real monster
we
in
are the
Monster Hunter?
absolutely the humans. Well, quote unquote humans. The lore gets a little iffy on that. Uh, but yeah, so I would rather have a game where the expected is the regular infinite use,
Right.
but if you're having a tough time, you can use the special stuff.
Because
Something like Dragon's Dogma, where like your arrow, you have an infinite quiver, but if you want to use a blast arrow, maybe you can buy a couple here and there.
I will say for my money, I feel like most games nowadays are generally better about that because I have more or less lost my hoarding tendencies in video games. When I was younger, I used to be
Depends
the
on the consumable. Depends on the one.
like I used to be the guy who was like, I'm gonna hold all of my special ammo till the end of the game and never use it because what if I
You
need it?
might need it. You might need it later. Yeah. What if there's a
Yeah,
boss after the final? What if there's a secret boss? You know?
but
Yeah.
but I've fallen into the not fallen into, but I've sort of the space that I'm in now, like the headspace that I'm in now, is like, well, if I fight, if there's another boss, I'll beat him with the regular ammo, or I'll beat him with the
Mhm.
with the regular consumables, or it's like health potions might be the one, or health items might be the one thing that I
Health
don't do
items
that
are a
with.
big
But
one. Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
well, if I wasn't going to use these grenades anyways, might as well use them now, or like
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
don't know. So it's like, well, I don't need 6 guns. I'll sell this one. I don't care. I'll just use the rest. I'll just use the other one I have, and it's like I don't know.
I think I'm in the space where if a game isn't using which ammo to use as like a gameplay decision mechanic,
Sure.
then it should probably just be infinite. Like if it's not requiring like a conscious decision, like let's take something like Resident Evil, right? And let's take like more specifically, like have you played two? Like that's like the most popular old school Resident
Uh,
Evil.
I've seen Jeremy play the remake.
Okay, like still holds true in the remake where you have a certain amount of bullets in the entirety of Resident Evil 2, and
Right.
you can kill maybe a quarter, half of the zombies with that number of bullets. If you found every bullet,
Sure.
like you don't have enough ammo to kill everything in that game. So therefore, every shot you take has to be calculated. Is it worth killing this guy or should I try and run past him? So like in that kind of game, ammo, I'm fine with being limited because it's a decision.
Right.
That's part of the what they're trying to achieve. But in a other game like I don't know, like would Doom be worse with infinite ammo? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I don't know. I played the original Doom, and I feel like the design philosophy in those games, like Doom One and Doom Two, um, from what you're describing, share a lot of design similarity with Eternal rather than like 2016, where it's like, um, not maybe not to the extent where it was
Mhm.
like only one gun was ever useful because it wasn't, but it was like you would run out of ammo for a gun, um, force you to switch to another one, but it wouldn't be too terribly long before you found more. So it was more just
Mhm.
a thing to rotate
Yeah. Yeah. Which is
guns
what
rather than
Eternal's
force you.
definitely trying to do.
But it seems like Eternal has that additional element of forcing you to use guns. Like there's sort of that dual um,
Mhm.
there's sort of that dual pressure on one side from the ammunition and on one side from the enemy types. Whereas the original Doom didn't have that. You could mostly
Mm.
kill anything with anything, but ammo
Yeah.
was a little bit of a concern. It was, I mean, like that's the thing, right? It's either you give all the weapons and none of the ammo, or you give all the ammo, none of the weapons. Or if you're Resident Evil, that's the horror angle. None of the weapons and none of the ammo.
What about the other horror situation where you get punished for using your favorite weapon?
What do you mean?
Uh, so have you ever played the game Vanquish?
No,
Vanquish
but
is
I'm
a
reading
little
about it in your doc here.
yeah, Vanquish is a sleeper hit cult classic third person shooter from Capcom. Uh, it's like an character action shooter, third person
Oh
shooter.
wait, I
So
think
like
I've seen
you're
it. You
doing
sliding
slide
around a lot.
combos, you're
Yeah,
sliding
yeah, I've seen
around
it.
real fast, you're doing cool stuff.
Is that a
So
single
the
player
way
game?
ammo it is a single player
Okay.
game. It's like very much just like you're on one mission and
It's
each
the one
level
I'm
is a part of that mission.
it's the one I'm thinking of where it's like the MMO style, like Destiny style one where you're sliding around and doing all that stuff.
Are you thinking of like Tribes?
I don't
Like
know.
skiing? But
I don't remember.
yeah, in Vanquish, you'd find your guns on the ground, a la like a Halo, or from
Sure.
a defeated enemy. And in order to get more ammo, you'd have to find an ammo crate. And the way Vanquish worked, whoever designed this, whatever monster, uh, is you could hold two weapons at a time.
Mhm.
Uh, Whenever you walked over an ammo crate, your ammo for your currently held weapon would go to max. It'd be a full replenish. If your ammo was already at max, your weapon would get ranked up.
Oh, okay.
So what ended up happening was, well, the shotgun's the best weapon for the tough endgame enemies. So I'ma just run around with
Right.
never using the shotgun and always swapping to it every time there's an ammo crate so that I can rank it up so it'll help me with the endgame enemies. If I was using the shotgun, which I love in that game, all the time, it would never rank up higher. And it's such a confusing and like poorly designed ammo system that is like punishing
Yeah,
you for
it's like
using the gun you like.
you can only upgrade guns that you don't use, if I'm understanding
Yes.
this right.
Yeah, or unless you found 2 ammo crates back to back in which
Sure.
you could replenish and then rank up. And if you die, you lose all the ranks on your weapons. Like I love Vanquish, it's a great shooter, but like that specific system is so bad, and I hope no game ever uses it again.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't
Like
even heard of that system, so I mean, I feel like people
it's
have not been
so
doing that.
bad. Like Vanquish is so fun, but that system is just the worst. So I don't know. Anything else? Any other prime examples you got on ammunition, interesting mechanics? You want to talk about Apex? What do you want to?
Well, the one that is reaching out to me in your document here is Metro
Mhm.
2033 and well, Last Light, and then what was the third one? The open world one
Exodus.
called? Yeah,
Exodus.
I didn't play that
Yeah.
one. Actually, I don't think I
Mhm.
played Last Light either. I enjoyed the first one. Um
Yeah, Metro
because
games are good.
that was fun in that the ammunition was acted as your currency in the game. It was
Mhm.
both. And
Yeah.
am I remembering this correctly? Was there two types of ammunition? Was there like silver and gold? Or am I thinking of a different game?
I don't know about that. I mean,
Okay.
different
I mean, I
weapons,
might be
like,
wrong.
yeah, Metro, you would have, like, a nail gun type thing that wouldn't use
Mm.
bullets, right? Or you'd have a crossbow bolt in Exodus, which obviously didn't use a bullet. But, like, for the most part, your currency was, like, the standard rifle caliber, like, bullet. Yeah.
Because I remember there was there was a game, and I really did think it was Metro, but maybe I'm wrong. But in any
Maybe it
case,
is. It's been a while since I've played anything other than Exodus.
where you had silver bullets and you had gold bullets, or not silver, but it was like your regular bullets and your gold ones, and
Mhm.
the regular ones were fine. They were just your regular bullets, but you could switch to a gold bullet that would do more damage, but was
Mhm.
also your currency. Um, so it
That might be
wasn't
Metro. It's been a while.
Yeah, so it wasn't like you had to shoot your money away, but if you were in a jam, you
Mhm.
could. And I thought that was an interesting decision.
That is neat. Yeah.
I say it was an interesting decision, but when I played, it just
I was
let
gonna say, how often did you actually use the gold? Because I
never.
would never use it. Yeah, I would be like,
Yeah,
"Oh, I need the
like
money."
I
Yeah,
never did.
like, I'm awful when it comes to using consumables like that. Like, I will just not use them.
But it was
Like,
cool that you had
you
the
could
option. I mean, like it was sort of the idea of that your money is your. It was like it's sort of removing the middleman between buying your special weapon or your special
that yeah,
bullets and
yeah, that's true.
and using it. You buy them as
What's
you
the
shoot
diff
them.
I had a tangential thought. Are spell scrolls ammunition? Is a scroll of
Huh.
cone of fire ammunition, or is that its own separate mechanic?
I mean, I guess in a conceptual sense, I can see how you would
Like,
make that
is it
argument.
too
Like,
tangential? Like, is mana ammunition? Not really. That's probably too far off, but,
I mean, I don't know, not
I
really.
just had that thought. It
What's
popped
the
into my
difference?
head.
What's the
Yeah.
difference between mana and like thermal heating? Right? It's like it depends on how you get more. Because if it's a potion, yeah, whatever. You have ammo magazines and you have
Hmm.
mana potions. Like, sure.
I was gonna say, what's the difference between like a frag grenade and a stealth boy, and a scroll of greater invisibility and a scroll of fireball? Like, what's the
You're
difference?
right.
They might as well be the same thing.
You know, you brought up Fallout, which I think is a really
Hmm.
good has a really good weapon. I think you know what I'm gonna say. The rocket launcher, I think it was what it was called.
Is that the launch anything in the game?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was the gun you made. I think you had to do a quest line to get it. And it gave you a gun. It was called the rocket launcher. I think it's what it was called. And its ammo was any of the junk that you could find around the game.
Hmm.
It's like your
Like teddy bears,
yeah, teddy
rocks,
bears were the big one.
newspapers,
Yeah,
cigarette packs.
ashtrays.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the
Hmm.
junk that normally you would just either sell off for minimal amounts of money, or I think later you can end up crafting with it. But yeah, you just launched your shit, and did it do different damage depending on what you put into it? I don't remember that or not,
I
but
don't. I remember getting a lot of kills with teddy bears, so probably
I
not. It
don't.
probably not a static. Is that
Yeah.
a Fallout 3 only, or is that a Fallout stable? I've only
Oh,
seen it in 3.
I only remember it from 3. I didn't even use it that much.
Yeah.
I don't remember it being
Yeah.
very good, but it was cool.
It was neat. It was neat. Yeah. It was neat.
Yeah. But I thought it was a good problem, or it was a good solution for the what do I like do with all this goddamn junk laying around?
Hmm.
Because I
So
remember
a lot of these. Oh yeah, go
what's up.
ahead.
Well, when I played
No.
Fallout 3 for the first time, I was younger, and this is gonna make some people feel old, I'm sure. But when Fallout 3 came out, it was 2008. I would have been 12,
Hmm.
and so I had quite literally like never really played an RPG. I think Fallout 3 was like my first open world RPG.
Hmm.
Um, like I didn't have a PC. I wasn't going around playing Fallout 1 or like uh
We're
what
Baldur's
like
Gating.
yeah, Baldur's
Yeah.
Gate. I wasn't playing
Yeah.
Neverwinter. That wasn't the genre that my family played, and so I never got experience with it. But then Fallout 3 came out, and so I remember like one of my first memories of Fallout 3 was me walking around and picking up this like just random shit. And like I didn't have the intuition at the time to be like, oh, these are junk items. Like junk items as
Hmm.
a concept didn't exist to me. So I remember my brother was watching me, my older brother. He's like 5 or 6 years older than me. And I'm like, hey, should I be picking up these should I be picking up these cigarette cartons, or should I be picking up these like teddy bears? And he goes, I mean, if you want. And I was like, what does that mean? And
Hmm.
I mean, it didn't take too long for me to get with the program, right? Like, but
Yeah.
like I was 12, not stupid. But so eventually I was like, okay, I don't need these.
Yeah.
But that was a fun way. Like, I just remember that as learning, like, sort of the art, like the RPG language in a way, that I still think is super cool. And I think about that a lot. Not that that has much to do with ammunition, but fun times with Fallout 3.
Yeah. I don't think I ever came to the realization that some items were just junk. I always thought they had some secret purpose, or like, why would they put it in the game if it
Right,
wasn't like,
right.
and like I didn't get the idea of just like flavor items,
Yeah.
right? Like until I think I found a vendor that like auto popped up my like miscellaneous or junk column,
It
and
was
he
like
only
sell all
bought that
junk.
stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, they're not important if I can do this. Like I think that's what it took for me to realize that.
Like I eventually got to a point where I was like, what
Yeah.
if I could do something with this? And then it just never, I never did. And I guess after like 10
Mhm.
hours or something, I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, it's like you play Spyro and you collect the diamonds, and then you can give that to the jolly bear with the monocle that can unlock a new portal or a gate. And you're like, or you find a key to a chest, and you're like, oh, that's important. And then you
Yeah,
play
there
a
you
game like
go.
Fallout when you're 12, and it's like, here's a bowling pin, and you're like,
Yeah,
oh, there
right.
must be some quest with a bowling alley later.
Well,
And
Fallout
no,
at least did the same, or did the
like,
thing where it wouldn't let you sell the items that you actually needed.
yeah,
So
yeah. Which
after,
some games
yeah,
do that.
right. Yeah.
That's another thing we can get into
Some,
at some other episode. But
some Zork
yeah,
bullshit. But
yeah,
it's like, but like, it was like, okay, it's not going to let me sell this quest item, but it will
mhm,
let me sell this thing. So it's like, okay, I'll do that.
yeah.
But, but yeah,
So
I mean,
I mean,
Fallout, uh, yeah, you could. Yeah, I don't know. It didn't have much ammo stuff in it. I remember. I remember ammo being not really much of a problem.
I had the opposite thought with Fallout. I remember being constantly
Oh, really?
out of ammo in Fallout. Like, I could never I don't
I
know
will
if,
say
like, I just never found a place to buy it, but, like, I was constantly out of ammo.
there were some guns in there where I remember feeling like the and I actually will bring up Stalker in this same
Okay.
conversation because the first Stalker game, and I think you when I say this you'll know what I mean a little bit too, is that was how they gated a lot of the weapons was by ammo. It wasn't like
Mhm.
if I found and I think I remember when we were playing Stalker on the YouTube channel Back Select,
Check out
get
the playthrough.
get in the zone. We played Stalker
Mhm.
Shadow of Chernobyl. Randy did. I watched. I pointed up, so I guess I have to put myself below you on the in the video, but
It'd be funnier otherwise. The world's a circle. It'll be the sphere. It all makes sense.
yeah, but it's like, oh, I killed this enemy in the second or third zone, and it was a. I remember you went sort of psycho at one point and just killed an entire outpost in the Cordon area.
Mhm.
I remember that. It was fun, and you picked up their stuff, and they had more advanced assault rifles. But they took more powerful ammo, and you didn't
Mhm.
get that ammo until. I mean, you got what you collected on there, so you could use it for a little bit,
No
but
option to buy it. Yeah.
but yeah, eventually you could. I think after a certain
Eventually, once you progress the story, you could.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But
But
like for the first half of the game, if you found that stuff, you could only use it for a little while because you weren't finding any more ammo. I mean, maybe you did a little bit, but
mhm.
you weren't buying it for sure, right? And it's like so they sort of gated off those like that's the weapon progression system. You weren't progressing on guns. I mean, you were, but
Mhm.
sort of like almost like an abilities sort of situation in my mind where it's
Kind
like,
of is.
okay, check out this gun. Oh, you don't have any
Mhm.
weapon, you don't have any ammo for it? How sad. And then, two levels later you're like, "Oh, here's the ammo." And it's like, "All right, finally, here we go."
Mhm. Well, the thing with stalkers, like those the difference between weapon tiers was massive.
Oh yeah.
Like your starter
Like
guns
it
were
meant something.
trash. It took until the last 5% of that playthrough to have a gun that I actually felt like shot where I aimed it. Like, so not having ammo for that stuff was a big problem. So yeah, this is cool how they gated it through ammo and not the weapon unlock. Kind of like a sneak peek of what's to
Yeah.
come. They drop here and there. Uh,
What do you got
going
on
with
it?
yeah, the only other example I had here, Zach, was Escape from Tarkov.
Uh-huh.
So Escape from Tarkov, if any of you don't know, is yeah, I'd call it an indie game, but it is this indie game made for hardcore military survival enthusiasts. I feel like you are dropped into a zone, sort of a la battle royale.
Mhm.
Imagine if you had a
Not
battle
quite.
royale game and you could choose to either spawn as an NPC or spawn as a guy you controlled the loadout for. So you would have your backpack and you'd put your medicine in, you'd put your bullets in, how many clips you want, how many grenades, how many packs of stuff, and you drop into Fortnite land. But if you died, all that stuff was lost. You could buy some insurance, but the idea is you go in and you extract out and you take everything that is on you when you leave and you leave behind whatever you took in and you died. Whereas if you spawn as the NPC, you get a random shit loadout and you do your best to scavenge off of stuff. It's literally called a scav. Uh, so Escape from Tarkov, rather than like this abstracted heat clip idea, it's much more realistic in what ammunition is and how it influences guns. Having a better gun doesn't shoot harder than a different gun. Like the gun doesn't matter. It's a vehicle for sending the bullet from point A to point B. What matters is the bullet. So in Tarkov, guns have no damage differences. They have no fall off distances. They might have a different rifling depending on the length of the
Sure.
barrel, but all of those stats are pertaining to the ammo you're using. So instead of a gun tier list in Tarkov, you have an ammo tier list. And what makes good guns is the ones which can or cannot shoot the S tier ammo. So if you want the best price to damage bullet, you better use this caliber and this class of AKs rather than this class of SMGs, sort of thing.
So is there any difference between two pistols that shoot 9 millimeter bullets?
Oh yeah, billions. It's maybe not in terms of damage, but in terms of handling,
Oh,
how
sure.
quick you
Okay.
can
Yeah.
draw it, weapon sway. Uh, you can Turkov goes hard. You can remove an iron sight and attach a different rail if you want to. You can put 9 different flashlights around in a shotgun, and people do that so you can't see them when they look at you. Like you were just a blinding light. It's like the cover art for like The Thing, where it's just that
Oh,
white
okay,
light
yeah.
in the
Uh-huh.
shape of a person. That's what it is in Tarkov. Uh, so yeah, ammo in Tarkov is very different. It also does the thing not a lot of games do. I kind of like it, where if you have like 8 bullets left in a magazine and you reload, you don't just like magically still have those 8 in the wasted
Oh,
magazine.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, like you lose it. You're not pulling from 500 bullets. You're pulling from I have 6 loaded clips in my inventory. Uh,
Arma does that too, I think, if I remember correctly.
Arma absolutely does it, and it's the similar like mill sim style of game that Tarkov is like aping,
Yeah.
not aping, but it's like
Sure.
implementing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of games that aren't like super hardcore,
Mhm.
like super hardcore simulations do that style of like I'm envisioning a game in my head right now, and I don't know that it exists, where instead of a number of bullets, like it just has like a magazine symbol
Mhm.
and like a
Yeah.
times 10 next to it. And then
Which
with
is
the
much more accurate to
yeah,
like
like
real, quote unquote real like
I don't know.
styles of shooting.
I guess at some point people have just decided that it was more fun if that didn't matter, right? But it was like
Yeah.
for casual games, but I say casual as opposed to Arma and Tarkov like
As
levels.
opposed
Yeah,
to hardcore stuff. Yeah.
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 Not I'm not saying that like oh Gears is casual, but like um I like I don't think that that sort of system has to be relegated. Like that is a easy enough concept to convey during a quote unquote
Yeah.
regular shooter
More
game.
logical
Yeah.
than the alternative.
Like instead of
Uh
500, just yeah, like I said, the magazine times 10. I don't. It's interesting to me that no one has even really tried it.
There have been I'm struggling to think of examples, but, like, I Tarkov is not the first time I had seen that
Right,
system,
right,
so I
yeah,
obviously must have in the past seen a game here and there do it. Now that I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head, I can't, but it is much more rare than, like, you have 500 bullets, you reload with 29, you now have
yeah.
499 bullets in your spare pack, right?
Because like
Like
conceptually, it's not that hard to grasp, right? It's instead of number of bullets, it's number of reloads
mhm, yes.
when you get down to it, and it's like
Mhm,
I'm surprised. It just surprises me that no one has tried it. Like I guess once again, it's one of those things where no one really cares enough to change it. Like is it would it add or subtract from your standard multiplayer shooter?
mhm,
Probably not, unless ammo matters, because it's one of those things where it's like, if you're
mhm.
giving people 500 bullets, or if you're giving people 30 magazines, does it really matter? People are just going to reload whenever they feel like, anyways.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
exactly, but, like,
eh,
going back to Tarkov, like, let's say, Tarkov, it's like a hardcore more closer to milsim, like, 1 or 2 bullets will kill you depending on where they hit you, right? So, like, time to kill is incredibly low or incredibly high if you're using trash bullets against, like, a Kevlar vest. It's not gonna do a lot. Uh, but let's say I'm in a firefight down a hallway with someone else, and I do the lean button to, like, blind fire on the corner, and I let
right.
off, like, 12 shots. Do I reload?
Yeah, no,
That is a legitimate question because reloading makes noise. They can hear that I detached my mag, so they might push me when they hear that noise. Reloading, and this might make sense more for a reloading part of this podcast in some future episode, but and you get 2 options to reload in Tarkov. Do you wanna do a quick reload or a standard reload? A standard reload
yeah.
will place your dejected magazine back in your inventory. A quick reload throws it to the floor and gives you a quicker animation. So,
What's
like,
the
let's say I
downside?
shoot the mag's on the floor. You can pick it up
Oh,
afterwards if you want to, but let's say I only shoot that 6 bullet and I
oh, I see.
reload. I can later cycle back that 24 bullet magazine into my gun later on if I
Can you
need to.
choose which magazine to reload with, or does it just pick
You
one and then
can
at the end it'll?
if you open up your
Oh, I see.
inventory, you can. Otherwise, it chooses the one with the most
I
left,
see.
I believe is the standard. So,
And
like,
then does it tell you how
Tarkov
many
goes hard
bullets? Because
if you count them.
I'm
If
thinking
you
of a.
right click and go inspect and count them.
I see. Because I was thinking of a game,
Mhm.
and I don't remember what it was, where it was like you had to hit a button. And I keep thinking Metro again. I don't know if that's true or not, but there was a button, and like your guy pulled the magazine out of the gun and like held it up to
Tarkov. Tarkov.
yeah. And it was either Metro or there's a game that I can't remember the title of. That's like almost
There's a
like
game called
Metro.
Receiver that goes really hard in the
Yeah, maybe it was
guns,
that.
but
There's a game that's like Metro, but you're on like a Arctic ship or something like that. Um,
oh, uh,
hold on.
Metro, but on an
This is
Arctic
really
ship. I
bothering.
don't know. Yeah. Yeah. So keep going. Look up what that is. And in Tarkov, like, let's say I kill somebody and I'm looting their body. And let's say I see, oh, they're using a similar gun to me, and I want to grab their clips from their inventory. I have to click a button and wait like 7 seconds for my character to count how many bullets are in each of those magazines. I can do a quick inspect by hitting the B key where my guy will pull it out and he'll like, it's about half. Like literally, the ammo counter will say about half or less than half or nearly empty or nearly full. So like ammo is taken very seriously in Tarkov, and it's the most realistic I've seen in a video game, maybe outside
Mm,
of like Arma or something. But is that fun? I wouldn't want every game to be like that,
sure, it
but I'm
depends on what
glad
type of
Tarkov
fun.
is like
Yeah,
that. Yeah, yeah. It fits for Tarkov, but I wouldn't want every game copying that system.
I found the game. It was called Cryostasis: Sleep of Reason,
How did you not remember that? What is wrong with you?
which I always want to play. Maybe I'll play that sometime because that game seems
Never even heard of
neat.
that game.
2008. No,
Okay.
I saw it one time on like Giant Bomb, like around 2008. That game's main mechanic was that you had to, your health meter was the same as your warmth meter, so you refilled your health by going and standing underneath light bulbs and shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Anyways,
that's kind of neat. Yeah.
I don't know that had anything to do with the ammo situation, but I'm
Shout
glad I
out to
thought of that.
Cryostasis Sleep of
Yeah,
Reason.
I'm
Yeah.
glad I thought of that game
C-Store.
again.
Yeah. You got any closing thoughts on this ammunition discussion? I feel like we've touched upon a lot of different systems, and do you have any
uh,
other examples you want to call out?
oh, I know I'm gonna think of something in like two
I'm
hours
pretty
and be
much
really
tapped
pissed,
out.
but
Please
yeah,
write into the podcast at or backselect@gmail.com, right?
nope.
That's
I
our no. Oh
no.
no, cut it.
No, it's not backselect@gmail.com. That was taken. I'll set up a new one.
Oh,
We'll go backselectcast@gmail.com.
backselectcast@gmail.com. Write in with an ammo system you've liked in a game that we didn't talk about, or literally any other question you want to ask us.
Or put it in the YouTube comments if you're lazy.
Or put it in the YouTube
We'll accept
comments if
that
you're
too.
lazy. We'll pick the best ones, or probably all of them. So, with that said, Zach, are you
Please,
ready
we
to?
beg you.
We'll migrate over to some questions real quick.
All right, what do you
Closing
got?
thoughts. Closing thoughts. Zach,
Uh-huh.
what's your favorite genre? What's your favorite style of game?
Oh God.
I didn't go favorite game because that would have
Okay.
been impossible. But like style, genre, whatever.
You know,
Like I can go first here if you want to think about
okay,
it.
yeah, give me a sec. What do you
Yeah.
got?
I have the advantage of thinking of the question and the answer
Okay.
beforehand. So I'm going with like party-based games, games with parties in them, not like
CRPGs?
Mario parties, CRPGs, Fire Emblem,
Okay,
XCOM.
yeah.
They're all squad party-based teams. I really like playing around with party compositions, synergies between different classes and how they're doing it. I find really fun, and it's more fun to have 6 guys versus a beholder than it is to have one guy versus a beholder. That's
One
kind of
guy
where I'm
versus
at.
6 beholders in Doom.
Is much less fun. It's actually also how Dune works, yeah, which is the inverse law where it is fun again. But uh, yeah, so I'm a big fan of party-based games. That's Baldur's Gate, that's Neverwinter, that's
Hell yeah.
Divinity Original Sin, that's XCOM, that's Fire Emblem, that's Dragon's Dogma with your pawns. Like I enjoy
It's a lot of stuff. Mass Effect.
party-based games. Parties are great. Who doesn't like a rogues gallery of people to shoot things with or kill things with?
I was literally just about to say I kind of think I'm the opposite. I like the
Oh, really? Okay.
the more player characters you introduce in a game, the less interested I get because there
Is that a
is less.
complexity issue?
Well, sometimes, but for me, it's more of like narratively. In
Mm.
some games, it doesn't matter, right? You don't. Some games that's not the focus. You don't necessarily care, right? It's more about the party synergy mechanically and getting your classes and leveling up that way, and that's fine. But for example, like I'd much rather play a game that has like 3 party members that have a lot of screen time and characterization versus something like it's the difference between Chrono Trigger and Cross, right? Where it's like,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
Chrono Trigger is like 6 characters, and depending on who you have, they say things during the course of the game, and they get a lot of screen time versus like Chrono Cross, where it's like that like the whole tagline for that game was like we have 60 party members, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
care. Like
none of them matter.
it's the Animal Crossing problem too, where it's like we have 100 Animal Crossing villagers and they're all going to say the same things based
Yep.
off of 6 personalities, and it's like, well, I don't know. But for me, I think honestly, it's like the boring answer for me. It's probably first person shooters. I feel like I think of the games that I've played the most throughout my life, and mostly they've all been FPSs. Like
Yeah.
especially like that's the thing. I wouldn't even say like first person multiplayer shooters are like my favorite genre, but I've sure as hell spent more time in those in like
I know
TF2, Counter
exactly how you
Strike, and
feel.
Apex than any other game. But like
I
the
think
ones
it's
that
the
are
prevalence of multiplayer
yeah,
games. Like if Dragon's Dogma had multiplayer, I would not be playing Apex.
like
Like that is all there is to it.
yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm thinking like the genre that I hold nearest and dearest to my heart is probably skateboarding video games. Um,
Okay.
just probably some of that has to do with childhood. I played the hell out of Tony Hawk and skate and all that, and the other half is like I think those games cross a very distinct intersection for me between I like games that are very this where the skill comes from more dexterity than it is like strategy. And I think that's also why a lot of the reason why I like FPS is like um executing a complex um like task, for example, like a skateboarding game, you know, you gotta do your combos and things like that and hit buttons in a very specific order and quickly, and that sort of thing is where is what I like to do. And it also intersects with creativity. Um and so like especially skate more so than Tony Hawk, where it's like the intersection between coming up with the possibilities in your mind of like I take this level and what am I gonna do with it, right? Like how like what's like the world is the canvas, and intersecting that with like the dexterity based challenge, I think it hits a sweet spot in my brain particularly. So that's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say skateboarding. But then again, I don't play that multiplayer. Like, I don't play Tony Hawk multiplayer compulsively, but I do Apex. So I don't know. What does that
Yeah.
say?
I think it's just a lack of those games in multiplayer
Yeah,
or with good multiplayer modes. Because like Divinity Original Sin, you could play multiplayer, but like the amount of
yeah,
waiting on each person you're doing is absurd. Like it's not conducive to multiplayer.
yeah. When are we
Uh,
getting our Tony Hawk battle royale? 100
so
skateboarders drop into onto
just
a
drop
map.
into a half pipe. Yeah, you never know. Collect the VHS for your bonus.
I got a
What
level
would the
3
ring? What
secret
would the
tape.
ring be? Would it just be like police caution tape getting closer and closer?
Oh
Like
shit, dude,
what's
that's
the
awesome. Yeah. Well,
yeah?
the fuzz coming in.
That'd be pretty good though. But no, see, and I think that's interesting because like I obviously enjoy mechanically intensive games. Like I love character action games. I love me inputting a good combo, right? Like I play a lot of Monster Hunter, deliberate inputs, Dark Souls, same thing. But I also love games like XCOM where it's about the plan, right? It's oh, there's this enemy behind cover, so I'm gonna have the gunner destroy the cover. The sniper will take a shot, and that allows me to move the ranger up to melee this
Yeah,
last alien. And then you
absolutely.
make that plan, and then your gunner misses, and then you're like, okay, new plan. And that's the loop, right? It's just constantly coming up with the plan and adapting it to the outcome. So yeah, no, I think that it's an interesting
Oh yeah.
uh, what's the word? What's the word? Dichotomy?
Sure.
Difference?
No,
Yeah.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Difference of styles. Yeah. Uh one more question then, if you
Okay,
didn't
what do you
have
got?
any.
Nah,
Did you have one?
nah, go for it.
Okay. All right, this one's a bit more out there. You're probably
Okay.
already seen it. So within the last couple of years, we'll go like 1 to 3.
Okay.
What's been your biggest surprise in video games? And
Huh.
this is open, right? This is what have you been playing that you thought you would never play? What did you think you'd be playing and have not touched since? What kind of style, what trends are you seeing that you weren't expecting to get huge? Like when PUBG first came out, where you're like, oh, well, that's cool, but it's not going to be the next big thing. Um, or like
Uh,
anything like that. Developments,
well,
trends.
I was literally about to say, well, one I have two things that immediately come to mind, and the first one is the prevalence of battle royales. Not that they've become big, because like whatever, I don't care. Fortnite did its thing, and I was like, okay,
Mhm.
whatever.
Still
But
doing its thing.
until Apex Legends came out, which I say came out, but that was like, oh Jesus Christ, like
2,
yeah,
3 years?
over 3 years ago,
3? Yeah.
February 19.
Mhm.
Um, but I didn't get into it for real until early last year, right? So it's like I never thought I'd be a battle royale person. Um, and I wouldn't necessarily even still say that I am in the grand scheme of things. Like, I'm not a battle royale fan, right? Like, I'm not going out there and playing Fortnite and PUBG and
You're an Apex fan.
yeah, whatever the hell they have now. Um,
Yeah.
I would say I am an Apex fan. I think that I can't really tell you why. I think it's a part of the move. I think it's probably the movement options in that game appeal to me. Um, and the fact that it's first person, whereas PUBG and Fortnite were both third. Because like the only other first person battle royale that I can think of is probably like Call of Duty Warzone, right? Where it's like it's a different thing. It's not like Apex and um, Warzone are you could say they're both first person battle royales, but as far as the similarities go, that's it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not right. It's a genre. They share many things, but it's like the Apex is a lot faster paced. In some senses, it takes a lot less time to kill somebody in Call of Duty Warzone. It takes like 3 shots. I think that's what I like the most. There was nothing that ever pissed me off when playing multiplayer shooters than running around for like 10 minutes and then like dying by getting shot in the back because of someone I didn't see.
Yes.
In Apex, it hardly ever happens. And I think that's what I like a lot with that game a lot. Even if you get shot, you almost always have a chance to recover, make adjustments. There's a lot of planning, like on the fly decision making, that happens that I really enjoy in a way that isn't just like, oh well, he saw me first and he had better aim, so he killed me. I mean, not to say that that doesn't still happen, but
yeah,
there's a lot of
fairer.
Engagements take longer too. It's not like you walk around and it's more about how you. And again, maybe this goes back to what I was saying, a couple minutes ago, where it was like in Apex, I feel like a lot more of the focus, and not all, but a lot more of the focus is how you perform in an encounter rather than planning and setting yourself up to be in an advantageous position. And like I said, it's not all
A and B. Yeah.
Like I see you shaking your head, and like I said, it's not all, but
at the end of the day, you still got to click on their heads.
That's true.
You still have to shoot them, right? Mechanically, I think there still is value to picking a good position and hiding in a good spot, knowing when to turtle as opposed to when to push. Like, I still think that decision making is important in Apex, but I see what you mean. Now, Zach, you say you're not a big battle royale fan, but like, what if I told you there's a game with like the same movement, even better movement, and better guns and cool ass giant robots that?
Okay, you lost me on the giant robots.
That was way better.
I mean,
no, but what if you were fighting giant robots? What if you played the mode that didn't have giant robots? Would you be cool with that? What if I told you it was called Titanfall 2 and it's the best shooter ever made, and for some reason we're making Apex updates, but not Titanfall 3?
2? Isn't that the game that's dead that you can't launch anymore?
That was the game that EA put out between the launch of Call of Duty in week 1 and the week of Battlefield 5 in week 3. That was that game.
Oh man,
Sent to die, never stood a chance. But Titanfall 2 is so good, and playing Apex just
can you play that game now? Still, is it not?
You have to download a third party client. You have to download the North Star client. There's still people that play it, but yeah, it's effectively dead for all, and it saddens me because that game is amazing.
R.I.P. Pour one out.
Yeah. So your biggest surprise is Apex liking battle royales or getting into them, or at least as far as Apex goes. Yeah,
the other one for me,
more than none.
The other one for me, and where I'll end here, I'll say my last piece is relatively recently, like in the past couple of months, 2 months, I had sort of written off From Software games, Dark Souls, Bloodborne. Okay. I've been trying to play those games for what feels like 10 years at this point, and I never got into them. And I'm, like I said in our Elden Ring video, which you can catch on our YouTube channel, Backselect, but about a week before Elden Ring came out, I was like, okay, whatever, I'll download Dark Souls again. I'll give it a shot, and we'll try it out. And I'm not going to say that I'm the world's biggest From Software fan, because I'm still not, but I sort of get it a little bit in a way that hadn't really happened in like 5-6 years of trying. Like I liked Bloodborne. what little I played of it. But
You
then
played a good bit of Blood. You played a decent bit of
yeah,
Bloodborne.
I
That was
hit a
probably the
wall with
most I've
it.
seen you play of any of those.
Like I gave Bloodborne a try, and I hit a wall where it was like, I'm not really having fun anymore, and so
Was
I
it
stopped.
Bloodstarved Beast or was it
It
Vicar
was it
Amelia?
was Vicar Amelia.
Vicar Amelia, the healing
Yeah,
one? Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because it got to a point where I was like, okay, well, I've been spending like, and I'm not kidding. It was like 3 hours trying to do this
Mhm.
boss, and I could not do it. And it was like, well, the joy that I got from the first 3 hours of this game is not enough to carry me through, and I sort of stopped. But I tried Dark Souls about a week before Elden Ring came out, and again, and I think honestly, you were there to help me through a lot of it, which helped. I don't know that I would have got nearly as far on my own, but uh, it's sort of. I'm hesitant to say clicked because again, I'm not the biggest fan of the games. I enjoy them. I wish to play more of Elden Ring. I probably will get back to that at some point, but uh, I don't know. That's my biggest surprise is that I never thought that I would. I know it doesn't sound, super monumental that, oh, I don't absolutely hate From Software
Mhm.
games, but
Yeah. No, I mean, that's valuable. I think my biggest surprise, just kind of how some of the studios have turned out, and this is more of an
yeah,
industry thing than like a
that's true.
particular game trend thing. Like,
Everyone's getting bought.
yeah, I figure like, because when did I play like the most video, or it was like most in the know? It was probably like high school or early college, right? Is when I was like
Yeah.
getting into the industry, right?
Uh-huh.
Or like
I'm
following
with you.
industry news, and like at that point in time, Blizzard was at the top of the world. You're
Couldn't
playing
stop 'em. World of
StarCraft
Warcraft
2,
was printing
couldn't
money like left and right.
World of Warcraft was printing money. StarCraft 2 was the literal national sport of South Korea. It's not a joke. There are hints of Warcraft. Hearthstone came out, and Hearthstone was great. Played a ton of Hearthstone. Overwatch, right? Pumped as hell for that Overwatch beta in the
Man, you're
summer.
just
Played
making
it
me
like
sad.
crazy. Like all of these good games, and Diablo 3 had come out, and while there was the whole cash shop issue, once that was removed within like a month, like it was still a really good game.
People
And
like that one.
and how long ago were all of those game releases?
Yep.
About 8 plus
Diablo
years
3.
for all of those at this point?
I mean,
7
Overwatch, I
plus
guess,
years?
if you count that, is like 6 years ago.
That's
It's pro-
still,
it's
and
still a
what
long
has there
time.
been since? What has there been since? So my biggest one is just regardless of the current like lawsuits investigating Blizzard in terms of sexual harassment cases and everything else that's wrong with that company, like their output even before those things started coming out, just
You
like
don't
I don't know if it was just massive talent drain or what happened to that studio, but like I would have predicted them to like grow, and instead they got absolutely crushed.
you didn't like Warcraft 3 remastered?
I didn't like Warcraft 3 Remastered, and while I played HOTS, I wasn't that wasn't the one. That wasn't the winner, Blizzard. Uh
HOTS. Are you
like
saying HOTS was pretty cold?
HOTS was cold. Striking while the anvil was cold. I forget who it was. I think it was Cliffy B. It might have been Randy Pitchford, but someone had a
Sure. Oh,
quote that
both of
was
those
like,
guys are so good.
There's room for three," was the quote. And everything in consumer capitalist meat like consumption in a capitalist society, there's room for three of anything. You have the big one, the premier, you have the slightly smaller competitor, and you have that other one which is fulfilling a different
The
niche but
niche.
is still possible. Yeah, exactly. And the goal is to get into that third spot. I think this was Gearbox, so this was probably Pitchford. Uh, so like looter shooters or like looting games. You have Path of Exile, you have Destiny, and you had whatever Borderlands was coming out at the time
Sure.
when he said the
Yeah.
quote. And it's like that is true. You have Fortnite, which is the battle royale. You have PUBG, which is 2, and you have Apex over in 3.
Is PUBG still
And
2? I thought that game died.
PUBG is massive still,
Where's
dude. Not
Warzone fit into there?
necessarily Warzone, there's probably like 5 of them, but that's the hot trend right now. So maybe it's not a perfect quote. Maybe it's not a perfect quote. Actually, Warzone sucks right now, by the way.
Destroyed with facts and logic.
It is true. You're right. But PUBG's huge in like Asian countries. It's not a big
Okay, makes
Western
sense.
thing anymore, but
It's a big mobile
PUBG is
thing.
still like if you check numbers played on Steam, it's always in the top 4 or like the top 5.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, Blizzard dying was a surprise, and Capcom being good is a surprise because
Devil May
when
Cry
I was
5.
in when I was in high school, the last Capcom game I had played, maybe in middle school, was Dragon's Dogma, which is like easily top 3 of my favorite games of all time. Love that game. And after that, they made nothing. They made some really bad Mega Man games. They made
Marvel
a
versus
Street
Capcom.
Fighter that sucked. They stopped making Marvel versus Capcom. It stopped at 3.
Was that the Resident Evil 6
Marvel
era?
versus Capcom Infinite was trash. It was Resident Evil 6 era. Like Capcom was awful. And then they came out with Monster Hunter World, massive success. They came out with Resident Evil 7, massive success. They came out with RE2 Remake, massive success. Monster Hunter Rise has been incredible. DMC5 was incredible. So like when I was playing Dragon's Dogma, I thought, man, greatest game in the world. Boy, does it suck. There will never be another one. But it's
now
he said when he got signed back on by Capcom, they gave him a choice: make DMC5 or make Dragon's Dogma 2. He's like, DMC fans have been waiting longer. I'm gonna make DMC5, but I'm coming for Dragon's Dogma next, and that warms my heart.
Here we are.
I can sleep easy every night.
Has that been
knowing,
officially announced? Did they?
Unfortunately,
No? Oh.
it has not been.
I thought that. Okay.
Well, deep down, originally, remember that failed Microsoft cross Capcom collaboration? Deep down.
That's what I'm thinking of, but I don't remember it. Yeah.
It was like Nero from DMC5 riding dragons with guns and an Zune. No joke, a Zune and a red
Microsoft
hoodie.
Zune?
Yeah, a Microsoft Zune. It was their collab game. They rumored to have spent millions onto this game, and it went absolutely nowhere. So that was in like the dark days of Capcom. So those are my biggest surprises. Some company rise and falls. But it's a good time for video games, you know?
Well said.
It's a good time.
It's a great time.
It's a good time. Yeah.
Well,
right, so
what do you think? Is that the show?
I think that's a podcast.
We did it.
We did it.
Yay.
Yeah.
And if you're listening till now, you did it as well. You were here.
Congratulations.
You're part of this.
Gold star.
We love you.
Yeah. So we're expecting sort of a monthly
we'll see.
For this one. It won't be weekly. We'll say that.
Yeah, that's a lot, especially with a weekly video. Yeah. But I say weekly video. If you're watching this is our 50th video on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And if you're not watching us, why not?
Yeah.
Just do it. It's
Join
fun.
the channel. Eagerly await the release of the finale of our Portal 2 Let's Play. Late to the party.
I may have been sitting on it for 2 weeks to get this 50th video out, but
that game goes somewhere.
It'll be up. Portal 2 is a great game.
As it turns out, Portal 2, pretty good game. So await the next episode. Check out that site on YouTube, and I think we are good to go, Zach.
Alrighty, thanks for listening, everybody.
Done.
We've been Back Select, and this has been the Back Select Cast.
Later.
See you later.